All right, everybody, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the Heavy Metallurgy. We're on a Friday night. This is number 195. It seems like we've been on 195 for a minute. Is it? Are we still not?
We're good.
I guess. Okay,
We're
cool.
we're moving steadily upward and onward, one digit at a time.
All right, well, we'll take it. Good to see Ellen, as always. Always a nice period to the end of the week, or an exclamation point, however you want to punctuate it. Good to see you. What's been going on?
Not much. It is bitter cold down here in the south, so we're dealing with that, which we are not used to dealing with. And I am not a cold weather person, so yeah. But
yep, we've had the cold, and a lot of snow. My kid had Thursday off from school because of snow again, so he's going to be going to school in July this year. He thinks it's cool now until it's not cool. Yeah,
until it catches up with him in a couple of months. Yep. But yeah, we haven't. Again, we don't get the snow or much of anything, so we haven't. The kids don't miss school. You're just miserably cold, waking up to 16 degrees weather, which is 20 degrees below where it's already cold here.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone's bundled up inside tonight, so we can just hang out, stay warm, and talk some heavy metal with a guest who's been long overdue for a return.
Absolutely. And before we bring out Devon, cheers to everybody in the chat. See a lot of new people, a lot of new faces. Welcome.
Yep.
Hope you have a good time. And to everybody over at Rick's channel having the watch party, hey, what's going on? Hope you're having a good Friday over there as well. But yeah, without further ado, let's get Devon back on. Devon from Maze of Torment. Welcome back, Devon.
Howdy.
How have you been, man?
Good.
What's been going on over at Maze of Torment? For folks that are not familiar with his channel, please go click the link in the description and go subscribe. He is holding it down over there in California for us. What's been going on?
Well, my house isn't caught on fire, so that's nice.
It's not even close to you, is it?
No, it's in LA, but I have some people that lost their house that I know, so that sucks.
You're what, an hour north of LA?
No, I'm like 4.5.
Oh,
that's why I go to no shows, because I have to go like 4.5 hours to go to a show.
It's not too bad of a drive. Of course, you're having to pay to stay down there unless you have friends to crash with.
And in the middle of the week, too, and missing work, so that's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's good to see you as always. And anything coming up on the channel for you that you want to shout out or talk about something you've done you want people to check out? Now's the time, because we might forget it.
I did the metal tag response, so watch that.
Right on.
Eventually, I'm going to start going through my CD collection, but that's kind of a daunting task. We'll get to that eventually. And maybe I also want to do like a top 10 favorite new wave of British heavy metal albums video too, so... Okay. That'll be sooner rather than later.
Okay.
Is that something you've been digging into a bit?
Yeah, there's, I think, one of my list I'm missing, so I still need to get that. Once I do it, I think I'll do it. But yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I got to say, I've always respected the fact that you're not a kid. You're a younger guy, though, and you were born even before 96. So it's like you've done the homework. You've gone back in time and always researching. There's so much stuff you've missed out on.
You can see the 3 behind me. I wasn't alive when any of these came out.
Right.
Yep.
Right on. Yep. Just goes to show that metal is important, even the old stuff. It's just as relevant. And it's cool that the younger crowd is doing the work. Doing the work. Started early. Well, to be honest, we have quite a pile. Out of all of the years we've done, there's been always a lot in every year. But this one, it seems like we were talking in the dugout beforehand that we could do a 3-episode jaunt on Norway alone. Norway and Sweden for sure. But so Devon, 1996. What a year. And obviously you weren't born at this point.
Yeah, I was -2.
Is that in Fahrenheit or Celsius? So 96. What drew you to 1996 in your investigation of metal when you were really starting to dig in?
And why'd you pick that one for the topic tonight?
Yeah.
Well, because I noticed like death metals and black metals one of the few years where they're still even, because later on black metal went like here, death metal went like here, but they were still kind of neck and neck. You had some heavy metal too. Thrash was pretty much dead, but you
Yeah.
had some second-rate stuff or later, like not really good ones like legacy bands, I guess.
Yeah. So what was it that brought you to that? Was it the black metal stuff? Was that your first
No, I got into death metal before black metal.
death metal before black metal? Right on. And was it before that? Was it thrash metal and then death? Or did you kind of go the traditional lineage, or did you?
It
Was
was,
it death metal?
it was Iron Maiden, Slayer, Sepultura, Creator, then Carcass, and then Dissection,
Off to the races.
Bathory, and then yeah.
Yeah, up to the races. Well, right on. Well, we've got a lot to show, so why don't you start off with your first poll?
This might be a strange favorite album of the year, but I love this record. Diabolical Masquerade. Grieving Dusk in My Heart.
Mm-hmm.
So these guys they're labeled avant-garde black metal, but I don't hear that until the third record. This one's just more straightforward, kind of like symphonic, but a lot of albums like it starts good and ends good. This one, I think the best songs are in the middle, like The Sphere and Black Hymn's Shrine, Under the Banner of the Sentinel, Black Hymn's Forest Kept in the Season Forever, and the Dark Blue Sea Journeys of the Sentinel. Those 4 in a row, awesome. And there's some cool like thrashy heavy metal influence too, and some random like King Diamond high pitched vocal parts too, which is awesome. So yeah.
Yeah.
I wish this band was still around. Only 4 albums, but all 4 are great though. But this one's still my favorite. It's their debut. So you got Blackheim from Catatonia and Dan Swano. So
what edition is yours, out of curiosity?
Peaceville 2021.
I've got an Adipicer Records pressing. I'm assuming that's an OG press. I don't know for sure.
Probably
It's a
so,
slightly bluish hue to the cover, purplish hue to the cover.
This one's more black.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, good pick. Yeah, I saw that on the list. I'm like, oh hey, that's a good one to show.
Yep. Yeah, it was a cool band, and it seems like they kind of came and went very fast. There's 4 albums, but it seems like they just weren't around very long.
The Blackheim Swano studio project, always fun. Unisound was such a prolific place for sure. Alan, 1996. For you, what was going on?
96 was a year I moved across country. So, new place, new record stores, new music scene. So a lot of stuff changed there. And in my new location, there was nobody and no store keeping up with new metal releases. So this really is kind of when I started checking out on new metal for a couple of years. I would still see things here and there, but unless it was an extremely big name release, I'd have to special order it, which I wasn't going to do very often. So yeah, I was getting more into tape trading. So most of the stuff I did hear coming out, it was more through that kind of route. And what I was finding in the place I moved to was a lot of old 80s metal in the used record stores. Everybody that had been into heavy metal in the 80s had dumped their collections, and you could tell they'd been sitting in these stores for a few years. So everything was dirt cheap and dusty. So I was able to, pick up lots and lots of old 80s metal stuff for $3 per LP, $2 per used cassette. So yeah, by the end of 96, I was, really diving into a lot of that stuff. A lot of the stuff I'd never gotten a chance to hear, I'd never been able to find before. And so yeah, new releases started becoming fewer and farther between for me. Another thing I noticed about 96 going through the list, some of the absolute biggest metal albums that did come out that year were things that I just did not connect with. And so I think it always kind of left a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth about 96. A lot of folks in the chat are already saying that it's a very, stacked year. All 3 of us did find, tons of albums that we'll show and talk about. But some of the ones that were getting the most hype that people could not stop playing or shut up about were albums I was just like, that fucking sucks. I don't want to hear that. I gave it a chance, but didn't like it. And some of these were bands that had done good albums consistently leading up to this release. So not only were the albums I didn't like, there was also that added kind of disappointment factor. I'll give a couple of quick examples because I don't think they're albums any of us are going to actually pull to talk about later. Metallica's Load is a obvious kind of, the biggest album of the year. And boy, I could not have cared less about it. I mean, it has a poor reputation with most folks these days. Some folks still like it, and that's fine. But, I didn't even care for the Black Album much. I was kind of already done with Metallica, but here they come again with an even weaker album, in my opinion. And you couldn't get away from it. Everybody was constantly playing it everywhere. So that was irritating. Another one I couldn't connect with was Sepultura's Roots. And people again were just going off how this was a groundbreaking album, the sound of the next millennium. And I'm just like, I don't care about all this tribal drumming. It's fine.
I think Korn came out with an album in '96 too, didn't they? That makes
sense.
sense.
Yes, Korn has a release in '96, and I was just like, what the hell is this? I was too young to be an old man yelling at a cloud, but I was definitely yelling at the cloud when I saw Korn for the first time. Let's see, Marilyn Manson, Antichrist Superstar, another one that everyone just that was the big thing. All of it. This is metal now. And I'm just like, I'm going to go to the store down the street and buy a bunch of old Kira Thungal and Running Wild tapes. Y'all can have Marilyn Manson. I don't care. And the list just kind of goes on. We may talk about some of these others a little bit later. Pantera's Great Southern Train Killer was a huge thing that year. And again, I was long since done with Pantera. Not the band for me. Even in this one, I don't think either of you will I'll make it the last one. Dark Saga by Iced Earth. And this was a band I had championed, for years at this point. One of my buddies and I in college set up their first website ever, just as a fan site. And Dark Saga came out, and I got it basically the day it came out. And I was just like, wow, they're doing the Metallica thing now. Boring album. I never did get into that one. Very much sounded like, oh, great, we've got the Todd McFarlane money now. We don't need to be angry anymore. Now we've broke through. We can kind of, it felt very much like it was kind of more of a reined-in, safe album. It had more than Metallica and Paradise Lost kind of vibes going on. They lost all the piss and vinegar that made those first three albums so great for me. So yeah, 96 had a bunch of letdowns. I am not going to lie. Now there's a lot of great albums too, and I'll show one here in just a moment. But it does tend to be a weird year for me to dive into for the reasons I've said. Just less and less familiarity with the new releases by the end of the year, and a lot of things I didn't get into earlier in the year. But it's also a very, very eclectic year for heavy metal. And Devon was talking about this, before we came on. A lot of genres were releasing a lot of stuff. It's not like it's a year that's just black metal or just death metal or just anything else. You got stuff going in all kinds of directions in 96. And it starts to show up in people's lists. This is not my album of the year, but this was one of the albums of the year for metal maniacs in 96. I think I know Sue Verica, who's been on the show several times. This was her pick for album of the year in 96, and I think a couple of other writers had it too. So the second Acid Bath, Pagan Terrorism Tactics. This is one of those things that, again, when I saw it, it was just like, that's heavy metal, is it? Okay. If you say so, I'm not sure that's for me. But, but at the end of the year, when it showed up like on Sue's list as like best album of the year, I'm like, Sue knows her stuff. I probably ought to at least check that out. So I got it in a tape trade at first. It took a few listens, but it did grow on me once I got the hang of it. I do like the album. It's, not perfect, but I think it's a big step up from their debut, which is also okay, but this one's definitely much tighter, better songwriting overall. I've always liked Dax's vocals a lot, even in his later projects. He's always really amazing sounding. But yeah, in a way that, even some of the real senior, headbangers were picking this is like their favorite album of 96. It kind of speaks to me in a way of just, what a strange year it is. And how many different directions bands were branching out into. You don't find as much of the traditional, straightforward styles. Those things had kind of dropped off a bit. Death metal we're going to talk about. Death metal's going in some different directions. maybe not as much of the brutal stuff, but still other stuff coming out. But yeah, just for folks to gravitate, towards stuff like this, this was, the kind of, flavor of the month in 96. And of course the band are now back together. So I'm kind of glad they're getting a little bit of a second go at things since their career was cut short. So yeah, the fact that, this was a top album for a lot of folks in 96 speaks to what an unusual year it is, I think. So that's my long-winded intro to 96. Marty, what's your take on 1996? Where were you and what were you up to?
Yeah, I was one issue into Wormgear Zine. We started that in 95, 96. The dates are fuzzy. I don't remember when I started Maniacs. Might have been the year after. I might have started in 97 or late 96. I don't remember, but it was a time where I was having a lot of fun doing the zine. I was hearing more music than I had ever heard in my entire life. I was starting to get on promo lists and starting to get stuff sent to me to review. And it was a ton of fun. A ton of fun. And in my personal life, I was married previously and just doing that sort of thing. And, going to work, reviewing albums, working on interviews, sending out interviews in the mail. Because I might have gotten a computer finally around 96 instead of going over to my friend's house to have to type in all my reviews and type in all my interviews that I got back in the mail. So, I mean, it was a lot of fun, good year. And just looking at this year, it's just like a nostalgia bomb. So much stuff that I love a lot of these albums. And, I don't know, might as well just start right off. Rambled on about those years a lot already. So let's just get it going. This is probably one of the favorites for me for 96. So this is Blood on Ice by Bathory. The I found this in my closet album.
That's bullshit.
It is.
It's always such a bullshit story. You're exactly right, Devon.
He's just like, oh, what are these tapes? Oh, gee, yeah, I forgot I did all this. Well, I gotta say, it's funny how something he found in his closet and scrap, supposedly stuff he worked on before Hammerheart, came up and ended up being better than. I'm sorry. I think this for Viking metal, this is better to me than Hammerheart, Twilight of the Gods. I love those albums too. Don't get me wrong, but
funny how it sounds like it's completely recorded after Hammerheart too.
Yeah. Well, he did. They took the tapes and they fixed them up, and well, it's all horseshit. I mean, everything that Corathon said in the press was a lie, just because he wanted to make Bathory an enigma, and he did.
Yep.
For a lot of years, he did. And but this album is just absolutely fantastic. They finally got a really good production. Corathon's singing voice had improved. Twilight of the Gods, I love that record, but he struggles hard with singing. Here he nails it. He leans into his imperfections. The choirs expand. The reverb on the voice expands, which is a good mask for some of the imperfections. But you've got the 1-2 punch on here, The Wood Woman and The Lake. Those two songs, The Lake is the best song he ever wrote, as far as I'm concerned. I love that song. But
it's a banger.
From start to finish, it's a concept album. It's excellent. Man of War meets black metal into Viking metal sort of thing. It's an absolute treasure in his catalog. I love the Nordland records too. He went out with a bang. He got it figured out finally. No more screwing around. No more pseudo thrash albums with wonky drum sounds. No more stupid Kiss covers or solo albums. He was on track, and it's just a shame he had to leave when he had to leave. But anyway, Blood on Ice.
Marty, what do you think? Tony's asking if that's one he should start with to check out Bathory. It's kind of hard to say because Bathory's got different styles.
If you want the black metal era, I would get Under the Sign of the Black Mark. If you want the Viking metal era, then yeah, I would say Blood on Ice is good. Although people prefer Hammerheart or Blood, Fire, Death. Blood, Fire, Death is kind of the transitional record, but it's awesome. And yeah, I would say Blood on Ice. I don't know, Devon, Alan, what would you recommend here?
What would you recommend, Devon?
I say Blood, Fire, Death because it has like part of like the Viking going later and part of the earlier stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea.
Transition. Yeah.
That does give you a little bit of both. That is a good starting point. I think, yeah, if you wanted the Viking era, this one's going to be a fine place to start. But yeah, not if you want the black metal sound. But yeah. Funny thing with that album, my introduction to it was actually my girlfriend at the time blind bought it. Neither of us had really. I had heard a little bit of Bathory, but not much. And I don't know if she'd heard any of them other than maybe she heard the same stuff I had. But yeah, at some point, one day went over to her place and she's like, "Oh, hey, yeah, check this out. I went over to the mall and it looked interesting. It's pretty cool." I was like, "Huh, okay." So, yeah, she actually gets credit for introducing me to that one.
Right on. All right, Devon.
Well, there's one pick down.
I knew there was going to be a ton of overlaps. So many good ones to talk about.
Alrighty, so Mike said the only classic metal record from this year that he remembered was Manowar, but forgetting this.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is this one of their best? No, but still good, though. But unfortunately, this followed Sacrifice, which is one of, I think, their best records, so definitely a tough task to follow. But
one of their heaviest records, too. Sacrifice is a heavy one.
But you got some good songs on here, like Them Not Me, Murder Show, Shake the World, Listen to Your Heart, Civil War, Crazy Like a Fox. Not one of their best, but still good. So, yeah, Motorhead, Overnight Sensation. That cover sucks, though. I don't know why they chose that.
Yeah,
it is a lousy cover picture, yeah. I remember seeing it for the first time when it showed up in a store. It was actually like a used copy. And just like I hadn't heard that a new Motorhead was coming out. So when I saw it, I just thought it was like some really old Motorhead album I had never heard of. I thought it was like, from like the early 80s or something. Then I looked closer, I was like, no, I guess that is a new one. Wow, that's not impressive. And yeah, you're right, Devon. I think it really, really got overshadowed by Sacrifice before it.
All right. Alan is up next.
All right. So I'm going to stick to, a couple more bands going out in really different directions by 96. Amorphous Elegy. Amorphous had changed, from album to album up to this one, but, this was a big quantum change. The first two albums had done well. The second album, Tales from the Thousand Lakes, had introduced a little bit more, the folky stuff. They were drawing on the Finnish, stories and all that more, and it went over really well. And then right away on this album, you look at the back, it's like, whoa, okay, we're definitely going for a much less death metal look here, and a much less death metal sound here. They really leaned into that, 70s progressive style influence that had creeped in on the previous album. It's not like you didn't see it coming, but I don't think anybody expected him to go full force in this direction, especially with changing the vocals, really leaving the heavier ones behind so much. I think it's an album for a lot of folks at the time, did get into it. It did overall do well for them, but it definitely was a bit of a surprise when it came out. I bought this like the day before I had to go do 6 weeks of geologic field mapping out west. So it was one of only like a handful of cassettes that I took with me. Because we had to drag everything with us. I was traveling very light. So I had my Walkman, one of those little Walkman cases, and 5 cassette tapes I could kind of cram into the little carry case along with the tape deck. And so I had those 5 tapes to listen to for about a month and a half. So I played this plenty back then and did enjoy it. But the main point here is that a lot of bands were changing direction and in bringing in a lot of new influences to their sound. The bands, the members were getting older. They were probably checking out more types of music and realizing, oh, hey, that's really cool. We like that. Or they were going back to stuff they liked when they were younger and figuring out how to work it into their style. They weren't just churning out, a third really good death metal album. They were looking to do different stuff. And we're going to see more examples like that as we go on tonight. Some bands did it better than others. Again, there are some that came out this year that I think it was a swing and a miss. But Amorphous Elegy, that one absolutely worked for me. Let's see. So, Marty, what have you got next? I'll jump over here and check what's in the chat.
Well, let's get everybody's drink out of the way because it's sitting here staring at me, and most of my stuff is largely black metal this time around. But
Tony's waiting for it.
Time of the Oath, Halloween, second album with Andy Darris, and I know Alan's a little iffy on this one, but God, I look at the track listing and I love it. I think it's a great record. I don't know. You got We Burn, Steel Tormentor, Wake Up the Mountain. 3 in a row. Bangers. Power. That's the big one they still play live. Forever and One. You got the ballad. They put that rate kind of smack dab in the middle of it. Before the War, another banger. Million to One. Kind of a deep track. Good deep cut on there. Yep. Anything My Mama Don't Like, even though I think the song's fun, that's going to be one that stands out. Kings Will Be Kings, Mission Motherland, If I Knew, Time of the Oath. I don't know. I think this is a great record, and it's actually a good Halloween album cover. Look at that.
No, it's okay.
They're on the right track. They're on the right
track. It's not winning any awards, but it's not terrible.
No, it's not winning any awards, but it's not pulling a CGI rabbit out of a hat.
By whatever. Halloween standards, it's a good cover.
It's a good cover by Halloween standards. Yeah. So,
and it is a good album. That there are some clunkers on that album that do knock it down a notch for me. Halloween just at that time they always had to have 1 or 2 songs. It's not that songs were stupid; they were just bad. Like you said, Anything My Mama Don't Like. God, there is no excuse for a band actually recording that and putting it onto a physical medium. You know, if you're drunk late at night and killing some time in the studio and goofing off, sure, you hit the record button. Oh, ha, that was goofy. Now burn it. Don't release it to the world. Yeah.
Alan, sometimes it's fun to have fun. Sometimes it's fun.
But that song's not fun. That song just sucks.
But then they put out Better Than Raw, though, which is an awesome record.
Oh, God, so good.
He doesn't like that one better than Raw.
I don't get that either. There's some great songs on that.
They all have some great songs, but they all have some songs that stink for me too in this era. So that's my thing. It's like, yeah, there's 2 or 3 songs off of each of these I'd put on a best of Halloween list, and there are 2 or 3 songs I would go back in time and take a big magnet and run it back and forth over the tape before they ever get it to the pressing plant. There's just some real duds alongside some real gems. It makes for a weird era.
Anyway,
that's
anyway. Me. Devon.
These guys are Belgian, I think. Ancient Rites, Blasphemia Eternal. So these guys are like how can I put it? A more thrash metal influenced Falkenbach, I guess. Would be a good comparison, maybe. So after this, they became okay, but the first 2 records are awesome, though. So if you like Falkenbach, but you want that more thrash metal influence, definitely check out the first 2 Ancient Rites records. Blasphemia Eternal, killer record. And this is a Soul Seller Records version, so under license from Mascot Records. Never heard of that label, but okay. Good shit.
Yep. I saw them once. They played, they came over and played the Heathen Crusade Festival in Minnesota years ago. It was the last Heathen Crusade Festival, and their drummer couldn't make it because I think his wife was having a kid or his dad had passed. I don't know. There was some family stuff going on with their drummer. So their drummer, the drummer recorded the drums onto a CD, and the band played to the CD, and it was good. They were good. They did a good job at it. So it was cool to see them. Good pick. And Alan.
Yeah, another good pick, and I haven't thought of that band in years, so very cool to see them listed. Some folks are talking about Samael, but I'll wait and see if y'all pick Samael before.
I did not. That's
maybe
where they started to slip for me. I liked it at the time, but I didn't love it.
Did you pick Passage, Devon?
No.
Okay, well then, yeah. It sounds like none of us were that keen. I got the album when it came out. Really liked the opening song. I think is massive. It's called Rain, and it is just thunderously good. And there's nothing else on that album that has ever stuck in my brain for more than 1 or 2 spins. So yeah, that was another one of those albums I mentioned before that it kind of let me down because I loved Ceremony of Opposites before it. I'd gotten some of the other stuff and liked it a lot. I got that album. I played the first track. I was like, yes, this thing is monster. And then what happened? Wait, there's not another really solid song on that album for me. Yeah, sorry. Glad folks in the chat enjoy it, but Passage is not one. I play one song about once a year, and the rest of it I just don't. All right, let's keep going. Bands going in different directions. Peaceville 3 were doing very different things by 96. My Dying Bride released like Gods of the Sun. And this, was when they were, kind of pushing or getting hyped a little bit as a band that might break through, become more mainstream. They had been, building a very good following from album to album to album. I liked this album a lot when it came out. Played it a lot. I like the style. It's fine. It's obviously much cleaner than what they had done earlier in the decade and all that. That said, it's not an album I go back to very often anymore. If I'm listening to My Dying Bride, it's probably going to be something before this one or after this one. For whatever reason, this one, I don't know if it just hasn't quite held up as well or what, but it doesn't grab my attention the way it did at the time it was released. But at the time, yeah, My Dying Bride was still kind of, trending upward, doing really well. They, of course, never really broke through. They weren't going to become the next Metallica or anything. That was kind of a silly notion looking at it in hindsight. But, there was a lot of press around the band trying to, kind of, help push them up and up. Their balloon would burst pretty soon after this album. The one after this is that 47.32%, which, yeah, I mean, that album has its following, but it did not go over well with the majority of their fan base, and the band kind of had to reset their career. So in a way, like Gods of the Sun is about, the peak of My Dying Bride's popularity, during the first phase of their career. Obviously, they bounced back from that one dud and have done great and have a good following to this day and still release really good albums. Their last album from 2024 was excellent. But yeah, this was kind of their sound had evolved. They had gotten, into a different style, and they were still doing quite good in 96. So My Dying Bride, like Gods of the Sun, just another example of a band that had been much heavier years before, now in a very different kind of sonic territory in 96.
That's actually my favorite My Dying Bride record.
Is it? That's cool. Yeah. That
Really?
Once upon a time, I would have said it was mine too. But yeah, I just don't go back to it as often.
It's like their version of Draconian Times, kind of.
Yeah, that's fair. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, Marty, what you got next for 96?
Well, Germany's Rage put out 2 releases in 1996. They put out the Lingua Mortis album, which is them with a symphonic orchestra, and then they put out this one, End of All Days. And this of the 2, this one's a little bit more my preference, although the orchestra one's good as well. I own that as well, but you got Higher Than the Sky, which is a big song for them. End of All Days, the title track, great song. There's 14 tracks on this, and you're starting to see that Rage, PV's got a lot to say musically. 14 songs on here. There's 14 tracks on this album. And you know what? None of them really suck. It's a solid record. It's really good all the way around. And we've talked about doing a Rage dive at some point on this channel, doing a ranking, and that's going to be a monstrous undertaking. But my son and I, we both like this band, and between the two of us, we're getting there with the discography, and everything I've heard I don't dislike. I think it's all really good. And in fact, whatever one he puts on that I don't have, I like listening to it. Same with my stuff. I throw on a Rage record and it's just so well composed and it sounds like Rage. So it's like they're one of those bands that I think they're probably bigger than Europe than here. They just keep, a lot of people roll their eyes when, I mean, they got 27 records out. It's a lot, not including all the EPs and live shit, videos, EP, all that stuff. But I don't know. I think they're a band. They're a special band for Germany. They're a great heavy metal band. They're kind of thrash at times. They're kind of modern at times, but they're 100% of the time Rage. Yep, those are awesome too. Absolutely.
And this is an OG press on Noise, which is awesome.
That is
Very
super
nice.
awesome.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good album, Devon. Yeah.
But yeah,
I don't know the ones from
Rage.
96, Marty, so I can't comment.
Good stuff. You will at some point.
I've got everything set up to start working through the Rage catalog, but I have not actually started through it. I know a handful of their albums, but yeah, it's going to take a few weeks to get through all that.
So I'm
one of
assuming
those
that would be
things-
with Jurgen, probably.
Probably.
Yep.
It's one of those things. If you take it in small chunks, hopefully you'll enjoy it more than you think you're gonna. Because there's some killer shit.
I'm sure I will. I'm not the only reason I'm kind of avoiding it is just the sheer volume of it. But again, I want to space it out so that, like you said, I'll be able to take it in small chunks and process it better than. It's not something I would want to try to cram. That would be a poor idea for me.
Oh, that would kill the band for me. Every time I do that, it's never good.
Like for Saxon.
Saxon was rough. That was a rough one.
Yeah. Well, bands like that too, where they're very consistent from album to album. The albums just will run together if you start playing them back to back to back. So I know Rage varies a little bit. They have some of those symphonic era and then less symphonic stuff, but still, if I tried playing multiple Rage albums per day to learn about them, they would blend together really badly. So I want to try to avoid that.
Wade, the Scorpion's Dive is coming. It's going to happen. It's all we just need to set a time and figure it out.
Yeah, we had a couple of people interested in doing the Scorpion's Dive, so part of it's
Zoller was one of them.
Their availability, but now some folks are maybe like, maybe I'll pass on that one. So we kind of got to reload and see who does want to still do it.
Are you doing the shitty albums too?
That's part of the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we just like, we're just going to do it up to the point where they didn't start to suck, or do we do the whole 9 yards? Not
Send
sure.
me an angel.
Take me to the magic of the moment.
All right, who wants to do the whistling part?
What a huge song for them, though.
Oh Lord, that's yeah. That was a monster hit.
All right, you're up, Dev. What's up?
I see Simon in the chat. He'll yell at us if we don't show this.
That's their best album. It just is. It's their best album. 100%.
Fourth Dimension exists, so
Fourth Dimension's good too.
Very good too.
Yep. It's a transitional one though.
Yep.
They kind of get it right on there.
Devon.
I mean, this does have Rock 47 on it though, which is definitely their most popular song.
Yeah.
Easily.
Killing, Abducted, Buried, Point of No Return, When the Candle Fades. Awesome record, not my favorite, but most of their stuff is at least good, except Catch 22. But no,
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's one of their best. I mean, they got a lot of good stuff, but this album I loved. I listened to it so much when it came out.
It's in my top 5, but not my favorite.
Yeah, I like this one a lot too, and would rank it pretty high. I do think like after this one kind of starts to set the mold for the next few albums, though. That for a couple albums after this, they started to kind of just do the same thing. Up to this point, every album is a little bit different. But after this, I feel like the next couple albums are like, well, that's good too. But it just kind of felt like Abducted Part 2 and maybe Abducted Part 3. And then I kind of lost track of the band for a long time. But yeah, Abducted, very good start to finish. But yeah, I don't think I'd have it as my favorite, but it'd be pretty high.
All right. Ellen, you're up next.
All right. I'm just going to stick to the heavy bands that went in weird new directions. Another one is Therion with one of the real gems of an album cover for 96. Yeah, this was cutting edge, Windows 96 kind of a thing going on. But Therion.
Mac Paint, Corel Draw, Union.
Yep. Therion's Theli album. Again, Therion had been changing, album to album. Started out, of course, with much more straightforward, death metal sound, which they were pretty good at. But Aaron, I knew you would appreciate that cover. Absolutely, it's missing a mustache, and if it had that, it would be the perfect Aaron cover. But this is another one, kind of like Amorphous. I don't think anybody foresaw Therion jumping this far forward in terms of a stylistic change, over the previous album. I think this was my second Therion album. I'm pretty sure, I'd already had Lepaka Cliff Off and liked it. It was an interesting sound. But, then this one, just very different. And, reading interviews and stuff with the band after the fact, they were really nervous about releasing this. Apparently the label was pretty nervous about releasing it too. They did not know how it was going to go over. There were concerns that they might completely lose their fan base. And it was very much considered like, it's what we want to do. We're going to put it out there. But if it flops, we're pretty much, dead in the water. But it didn't flop. It went over really well. A lot of folks gravitated towards it. And again, this kind of starts them down a very different path. After this, they would get more and more symphonic with each album. I like the one that comes after this, Voven. But I think after that, again, I think the band kind of got a little bit cookie cutter. It's like, okay, yes, Christopher Johansson's going to do another big, kind of, symphonic thing, and it'll be pretty sounding, and it'll probably kind of lose my interest after about, 15 or 20 minutes. But Thelian still, has enough of a little bit of a metal gallop to it in parts here and there. They kind of move the symphonic stuff around. That it just works. It's still a fun listen. It holds your attention. It's interesting. So terrible to look at, but still a good one to listen to. And again, just we're already seeing kind of the breadth of what these metal bands that had all these bands have now been around like 6 years. They're on their third, fourth type album, and they are really evolving compared to where they started out, which is fine. I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing. It's just an observation about how rapidly bands were changing here in the mid 90s.
And I got to say, your back-to-back choices are two of the worst computer-generated album covers of 1996. You got Gods of the Sun and Therion. Those are two wow moments in album cover history. For sure.
There are some bad cover arts. Mid 90s, into even the early 2000s. Yeah, cover art suffered in a lot of ways during some of those years.
All right. Well, I picked one here that I'm sure neither of you guys did. So, it's got to be talked about. In 96, Nephilim, Zune.
Oh, good album. Yeah, I didn't pick that.
Basically, Fields of the Nephilim broke up after Elysium, and Carl, you read the Wikipedia page. It says he was influenced by industrial and death metal, and basically came up with this, which it sounds like a heavier Fields of the Nephilim. Yeah. It sounds like Fields of the Nephilim after Elysium decided to be less dreamy and depressive and more metal, heavier, darker, more electronic. And this is really good record. It really is. Carl's voice, he could sing over some really awful things and it would sound great. His voice is just dark and brooding and grovelly and just everything great about this. Is this a true Fields of the Nephilim album? It is not. He would reform the band after this. And so the Zune, Nephilim is just a one and done project, but it's great. It sounds good. And, it's being reissued this year on vinyl. It might have already been so I need to get on that. But yeah, definitely check it out. If you're a Fields of the Nephilim fan, you've never heard Zune, it is a heavier Fields of the Nephilim with awesome vocals and cool atmosphere. Some headbanging shit on it too, which is kind of weird. I'm sure it pissed off a lot of gothic people, but what can you do?
Probably did. Yeah. It's the kind of thing that, on paper, it doesn't sound like it should quite work. Having the band come from that, like you said, dreamy gothic background and all of a sudden turn it into more of an industrial leaning thing. It doesn't sound right, but they did it really, really well. It actually does work.
Did a great job. All right. Devon.
Here's one from one of the Norwegian big boys. Dark Throne, Total Death.
Mm-hmm.
Underrated record, I think, but is it as good as the ones before it? No.
Here's the other cover for those who.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't Goat Lord 96 too?
Yep, they put out two in 96.
Goat Lord isn't that good.
It was supposed to be the follow-up to Soulside Journey, and they scrapped it and went for a more black metal direction.
Mm-hmm.
And probably a good thing they did because the material wasn't that good. Although I liked it a little bit with the vocals on it. It was okay. Mm-hmm. Anyway, go ahead.
I like the couple albums after this, like Ravishing Grimness and...
Great album.
What was the one after that one?
Hate Them?
No, that was Wielder, I think. Oh, Plague Wielder.
Yeah, Plague Wielder's good. A little more technical, that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so.
Better production. Hate Them is one of my favorites. Middle era favorites of theirs. Love that record.
Later era, and it's like the sixth record.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good record, though.
Good pick.
Yeah,
Going.
you don't hear this era of Dark Throne mentioned all that much. It's a band whose entire catalog is always going to live in the shadow of those 3 albums. So,
The Shadow of the Horns.
Oh,
Ah.
boom.
Ah.
but yeah, cool pick. All right, next one's one of the bigger albums from the year. Actually, I want to skip that one and come back to it. One thing we were talking about before we got started was that for especially Marty and I, but even Devon to a point, we've had to double check the year of release on a lot of things because like 95, 96, 97 sort of run together a little bit at times. So I think we all found some things in our stack last minute. So it's like, oh, wait, this was a 97 release. Oh, wait, this was a 95. So let me double check this one and I'll come back to it next round if I can confirm it's 96. But I'll go with this one. This one's definitely 96. Immolation, Here and After. This one I missed when it came out. I saw it in stores. I'll be very honest. By 1996, I did not give a crap about more brutal, extreme death metal. I was way beyond burned out on that type of stuff. My death metal interests, by this time were the things like we've been talking about tonight. Devon showed the Hypocrisy album. Seeing what bands like Therian and Amorphous were doing. They were obviously some of them moving out of death metal almost completely, but that stuff I was interested in. I just did not want to check out, another, Cannibal Corpse clone by 96. But nevertheless, came back, to this one, much, much later. I'm very late to Immolation, but this album is extremely good. There was this big break between the first and second albums, which probably didn't do them any favors early in their career. But nevertheless, fantastic album. The thing I like about this one is that the songs have an almost proggy feel to them, but they're not playing anything very proggy or very technical at all. It's just that, their songs are written very well. And, they would add just, little things here and there, little, different sounding chords, maybe bend a string just a little bit here or there, just little touches to make it feel like there's, a lot of extra depth to the songs, gives them a lot of character without having to go, full on tech death or anything like that. Not doing, what, other death metal bands would start to do, thanks to the influence of someone else we might talk about later. But yeah, this was one that, when I finally got it, I figured like, okay, yeah, I'll check it out. I've liked a couple of their more recent albums. So let's go back and check out some of these. I'm just like, man, wow, this is actually an extremely good album start to finish and gets routinely played ever since. So yeah, I know some folks maybe are a little bigger on some of the other things in their catalog, but for me, this is a pretty big one that gets constant play. What do y'all think of this point in Immolation's career?
Classic.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Dark and
classic.
classic.
Like Jason's saying, a lot of folks I think go more for Dawn of Possession, which I've just never spent as much time with. So whatever, this one clicked with me instantly. So this is the one I keep going back to.
I mean, Dawn of Possession is probably the most old school death metal riff wise. It still sounds like Immolation. On Here and After, they started to get a lot darker and more strange in the riff writing, and which they really worked on and moved forward with that moving forward. So more technical and strange, which is cool. Which is cool. Always gave them a dark vibe for sure. Very dark. Oops, sorry.
Yeah. Yep. Works really well for them.
All right.
But yep. That'll Mario pass to you, and let me check the year of release on this other one so I can use it next time if it is indeed a 96.
I know I'm kabooming Devon with this, but this might be between this and Blood on Ice. This is probably my favorite from the era, and that would be Nemesis Divina by Satyricon.
Oh yeah,
this is Armageddon.
For the day of wrath is coming, and who upon us shall stand?
Yep, so good. This is. It is. Shadow Throne. I have a soft spot in my heart for that album as well. The first one I got. I love that is just such an atmospheric Norwegian black metal sounding record. Here, the atmosphere is still here, but it's a more modern, better production, and the riffing is way more intense, more technical, crazy, but And the phrases are the musical phrases are very long. Like the main hook melody line of Mother North, it's like it goes on for measures. It's like it keeps going, and it's such a great, well written album. And of course, you got Nocturnal Culto from Dark Throne played on the record. I think he might have did a few shows with them as well. I don't know how extensively he toured with them, but it showed that he was a very good advanced guitar player, not just playing Celtic Frost riffs in Dark Throne. I'm probably going to be picking this for an album club. I think it's one that TJ might actually get into, and if he hears it again, I don't know. Probably going to be picking this soon. So this is a favorite of mine. You guys have anything to say about this one?
Dark Medieval Times is my favorite, but the first three are all great.
All great. 100%.
Yeah, the first three are great. That one has aged extremely well. I didn't play it for a number of years. Just didn't get around to it. It's like when I finally circled back to it, I was kind of curious. I'm like, I wonder how this is going to play. Since it'd probably been 10 years since I'd played the record. Like it might be one of those things that sounds a little dated by now or something. But no, it sounds every bit as good as it always did. If anything, it sounded even better. So yeah it's really withstood the test of time.
Sater's vocals are just this evil croak. I love it. But you can understand what the hell he's saying too. He's got great diction or enunciation or whatever. It's great. All right, Devon.
Yeah, I have a feeling neither of you guys chose this one. This is Nyctophobic War Criminal Views.
Never even heard of that.
Nope, don't know that one.
Oh, Devon's scraping into the dark archives for sure.
Basically, if you're a fan of this,
yeah,
this is basically the '90s version of this. So,
same members or
no? They're also German too, so that helps. So they did this in '96, something else in 2000, and then broke up, and they've been broken up ever since. So, yay! But oh well. So if you like super crazy kind of,
who are they again, Devon?
Nyctophobic. I'll spell that in the chat. And like your custom punk stuff. That looks familiar.
Yep, from
Infest.
Infest. Yep.
So there's definitely that. So if you want a more like crazy death grind version of Infest, I guess check it out.
Cool.
Let me type this shit in the chat.
Sounds good.
Yeah, if you can type that in the chat, a couple of folks are wanting to check that out, but they didn't catch the name. All right. So yes, I checked. This was indeed 96. I have a weird repressing box set thing of it. So little tiny picture for Opeth's Morning Rise. Their second album, of course. One of their better ones, in my opinion. Now, I'm on record not being a huge Opeth fan. I did really try to get into Opeth early on. They seemed interesting. I got, I think, all four albums, the first four, pretty soon as they came out. So, I gave them a lot of spins and a lot of attention. I eventually just decided that, it wasn't something other people were treating it like, it was the best thing ever to happen to, recorded notes of music. And I'm like, it's okay. I wasn't getting into it at that level. And I kind of got sick of people hyping it so much. I'm just like, okay, y'all enjoy it. I'm not on that love train the way y'all are. But Morning Rise, I thought, was a pretty cool album. It's a little more sedate, like the first two are compared to some of the later stuff. Has a little bit more of a 70s feel to it. I don't know if you'd say it's when, some of the progressive stuff, starts to come in, but it feels like it. Even the first album had parts of that, though. So they've always done some of that. But yeah, Morning Rise just, had a little bit more of a laid-back tranquility to it at times that I thought worked pretty well. It felt a little bit more consistent as an album. Again, I hate to be the broken record. One thing that always has bugged me about Opeth was, their tendency to want to quickly switch back and forth between the really laid-back stuff and the brutal stuff. The transitions were never that great for me. It always, jumped back and forth a little too quickly and a little too frequently. They're great songwriters. They're great musicians. I understand all that. I just don't like the way they assemble the parts of their songs. is what it came down to. But Morning Rise was one that I do like more than others. I've just got this, I don't even remember, the Candlelight Years box set. It's got the first 3 albums in it. And I'm pretty happy with just having this. This
The third one's my favorite.
I think it is for a lot of folks. And again, it's not bad. It's got its moments. But I don't really need to explore Opeth beyond this point. I own plenty of the later albums too. I would pick them up from time to time. It's like, oh, Damnation and Deliverance. Okay, let's see what those are like. Can I have my money back, please? It's just not my band, but they definitely deserve mention. They were right out of the gate, a fully formed band. That was one of the things that always surprised folks, that this wasn't some band that had to record, 8 demos or toil for 3 or 4 albums to find their sound. They showed up, fully formed with a core identity, very unique, and it clicked with an audience instantly. So kudos to them for having a good career and being great musicians. Not the band for me, but we're certainly going to mention Morning Rise as an important album from 1996.
All right. Well, I don't think we can get out of this without talking about He Who Will Not Be Named. Philosophem came out the 4th.
Yeah, another important one for 96 for sure.
Absolutely 4th Burzum record, and I don't think it's as good as Vis Licet Tar Os, but it's great. The production is like so anti-production, but the album kind of degenerates into like dungeon type of noise ambience, and then you got that boop 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 song, electronic boop 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 song, which when you hear it for the first time, you're like, what the hell am I listening to? But it is so absolutely hypnotic and simplistic. It's hard not to kind of fall under the trance of it. But yeah, I mean, regardless of what this dude is into or says, his music is definitely a big part of the Norwegian black metal and black metal's return, to be honest. So Philosophem, the 4th album from Burzum, definitely had to be talked about tonight.
Yeah. Folks are kind of divided on that one in the chat.
It's got some tough stuff on there to process,
The deal breaker for me on that album was always the vocals. They just, I do not like the vocal production. It's the story, whether or not it's true, was always, that he had to record it like over the telephone from jail.
It was through a pair of headphones. He used
or
a
something,
pair of headphones
and it sounds like it. So he's trying to create, like you said, Marty, this very kind of trancey music, going more in that kind of nature vibe and all that. But then having those really lamely produced vocals on top of it, it always felt to me like a total mismatch. I couldn't enjoy the naturey parts when it sounded like, the vocals had been recorded, in a closet with a sock over a microphone. So I get why people like the album. I can do without it. All politics.
Yeah, it's one I rarely grab.
I just really don't like the way the vocals sound on that album. It kind of ruins the album for me.
All right, Devon.
So this band is definitely more well known for their modern era, so it's kind of easy to forget that they've been around for this long. But Fathers of the Icy Age, so definitely one of his most normal albums, I guess, because he changes styles a lot. So if you're not into the super crazy off the wall experimental stuff, definitely one of his better of his more normal albums. Yep. There you go. Blut as Nord, Father of the Icy Age. Good record.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I have a weird reissue of that on CD with a different cover. I don't know. It's in my stack here somewhere. I don't know where the hell.
Yeah, I've got a really cheap CD reissue of it.
Right here.
Good album. I should get a better pressing of it sometime.
It's Candlelight USA Appease Me Records. What the hell is that? But yeah, completely different cover. It's weird.
Yeah. And yeah, that's a good example of one, Devon. We talked about this right before Showtime too, that you had, black metal was really, really starting to explode in 96. You've got all these, bands that are now long running, veteran projects that are highly acclaimed. And around 96, they're all doing their first or second album. We were trying to figure out, like, is this the point where you should officially start calling some of these bands third wave black metal? Does that come slightly later? I'm not exactly sure where that does or doesn't fit. It doesn't really matter. They're still noteworthy albums, but yeah, the just sheer volume of things coming out by 96 for black metal. Like you said, Devon, after this point, it really does feel like black metal just keeps going up, 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 up. And 96 is one of those years where it just really does feel like the fire hose is getting turned on full force for bands coming out of Europe.
And cheers again to the dudes over at Dreadful Minutes, Rick and Chris, and I can't tell. What's that?
Oh, I was just saying, yep. Hey, Rick. Hope y'all are having fun over there.
Hope we're having fun over on the watch party over there. That's cool. All right, and I'm up next. Back again. All right, another thing we're starting to see here in 1996 is the power of the supergroup, and Norway led the charge with this. You got the first Borknagar record, which this is my favorite Borknagar record. I hate to be that guy, but it just is. It's Ivar from Enslaved on keyboards. You got Garm on vocals. You got Grim on drums, and it's just. This is their most Norwegian black metal sounding record. That's why I like it so much. I love that aesthetic. I love that sound. I love that atmosphere. As they went forward, they got a little bit more proggy, although I do love that as well. Olden Domain was a rough album for me. I didn't love it. But Archaic Course, you got Vortex on vocals. How can it be bad? You know what I mean? Such a great singer. But at this point, they're just a straight up Norwegian black metal sounding project. Ivar does a lot of synth soundscapes on here to make the album feel bigger, a little bit more otherworldly. It's just a great record. I love it. It's a classic album for sure. So yeah, first Borknagar. Definitely, if you have not heard that, check that out. Good stuff. Devon.
Yeah, this is another popular one that probably should be mentioned.
Yep.
Oh, yep, for sure.
And you're demonetized, but whatever.
No, we've done much worse.
Probably so.
It's all good.
They're first with Corpse Grinder. This seems to be called like one of his worst albums for some reason. I'm not sure why. I think it's one of his best, but yeah. You got Devoured by Vermin, obviously, Mummified in Barbed Wire, Perverse Suffering, Puncture Wound Massacre, Absolute Hatred, Orgasm Through Torture. That's always fun. But yeah, good record. My favorite with him is probably Bloodthirst, but this is a good record too.
All right. Alan.
All right, let's see. Black metal band that was also changing direction a little bit around 96. We've got not Norwegian, though. Got to go to the other end of Europe for Rotting Christ and Triarchy of the Lost Lovers.
Talk about a breakthrough record for a band. That's the one.
Yeah. Again, and it's similar to some of the other things we've seen this year with, yep, there you go. They're, with like, Amorphous and Therion. These bands were changing their sound and taking a bit of a risk in doing so. Probably did lose a chunk of their fan base, but gained enormous popularity among metal fans, just getting more exposure and having the new sound really, really click with a lot of folks. And yeah, I like older Rotting Christ quite a bit, but I like this album a lot too, even though it obviously has more kind of of a gothic-y overtone to it and stuff they did before. There are still enough connections to previous Rotting Christ outings that it's not a completely new sounding thing. There's still aspects of what they had done before. But yeah, this one's much cleaner sounding, of course. They've got better production for one of the first times. And yeah, the songs, just there's something that would appeal to a wider audience. It's got that more gothic sound, a little bit less of the really gloomy, cavernous black metal sound that they had helped invent for Greece. So fantastic album, has held up very well. This is one that again, this kind of stuff, new releases I couldn't find in the area I had moved to. This one amazingly showed up in the used CD bin, and it made no sense whatsoever. The store never carried anything. No store in town carried anything new like this. Somebody had to have special ordered it and just like instantly disliked it and brought it and traded it in. Because just flipping through, the used CDs, I hardly ever found anything in the used CD bin in that whole city. But this was sitting there one day. I'm just like, really? I've just found a Rotting Christ CD in the middle of West Texas. I would have thought anybody in this town, like their hands would have like burst into flame for holding this album.
That's probably why it's in the damn.
Which is maybe why, they had to ditch it.
Save me, Jesus! I'm taking it to the store.
Yeah. So I'm just like, I'll absolutely take a chance on that for $7.99, and I was glad I did. It turned out to be a favorite from that year. It may have been early '97 by the time I got it, though. Again, there was a bit of a delay for stuff showing up, and those years run together just a little bit for me. But now I will say that's also the last Rotting Christ album I like for a while. The next one, I know a lot of folks like A Dead Poem. I was really hyped to hear it when it came out, but I thought it came out too soon. It's only a little over a year after Triarchy. And to me, it sounds like it. It feels like an album that was put together very quickly and meant to capitalize on the softer side of Rotting Christ, which is a really funny expression when you think about it. And so, A Dead Poem did not interest me at all. Like, this doesn't have any of the older Rotting Christ sound to it at all. This just sounds like another band that wants to be on a Beauty and Darkness Volume 37 CD compilation. And by 97, there were enough of those. You didn't need Rotting Christ to go in that direction. So Triarchy and what came before, great. I like the last couple of Rotting Christ albums. I know they're not for everybody, but I think they've kind of found a nice, unique niche for themselves. But by A Dead Poem and some of that era, it's a bit hit or miss for me.
Does your version have the creator medley on it?
I don't think it does.
No, I got the promo when it before it came out. So
no, this one actually does. I used to have a pressing that didn't, but this pressing does have the Tormentor, Flag of Hate, and Pleasure to Kill medley on it. Yeah, I forgot that was on there. Good call, Devon.
I gotta say, I don't think they really changed their sound much here. I think they just leaned into the melodic side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the melody lines are so mature and lush. It's just so memorable, and the songs are so well written. It's like they always sounded very Greek. Obviously, they're one of the spearhead of the Greek sound, but they just did it better on this record. And the production's weird. The vocals are really loud. I don't know. I love the record. It's so melodic. It's hard to turn away from it. And it's so Greek sounding. This was the album that made me come around to the Greek sound, because forever I was like really kind of wishy-washy on it. And I kind of got it
for a lot of folks that weren't into heavily into underground black metal. This was probably their introduction to a Greek black metal band. It was the first one I can think of off the top of my head that had any kind of bigger label, bigger push, more available to it. Yes, I know there were plenty of people tape trading and deep in the underground that had already checked out their earlier stuff, but for a lot of folks, I think this was probably their first experience with Greek black metal, and it's a good one.
And you want a really good Rotting Christ or middle era album is Theogonia. That album, they kicked up the fire again. They kind of tried to take it back old school. It's just a really great record. I love that. That's the last Rotting Christ record. I'm like, hell yeah, this is great. After that, they started getting all cultural and weird, and I don't know.
That would be Europe next.
You're writing for the magazine. Can't remember what May though. I was writing for Worm Gear, my zine Worm Gear. I don't think I started Maniacs until the end of 96 or 97. So yeah, Worm Gear. That was my zine. That's what I was doing. All right. I am next, I guess. All right. This album, this band, people roll their eyes over, but the first two Dimmu Borgir albums are freaking awesome. Stormblast. This album is awesome. It is straight up mid-paced, atmospheric Norwegian black metal. It's, does they have the top hat guy? I don't think they went that far.
I think it does, but I'm not sure.
No, they were still in the spike goblin bats and whatnot. But this album is great. I love this record. I think it's a damn disgrace that they re-recorded it. But I don't know. This is one of those. I mean, I like some of the stuff they did afterwards too. They put out some great records over the years. They got a little bit more complex and whatnot as they went. Of course, they got popular, and as soon as a band gets popular, people are like, ugh. They suck now because more than 25 people like them.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's stupid. But anyway, yeah, this is a great Norwegian black metal classic as far as I'm concerned. Love it. Love this record. This is the last. What's the one with the Enthroned Darkness Triumphant? That's a great album too.
That was the big breakthrough album. Yeah.
That album is great. It's a great record. People just don't talk about this old era with fondness. It's like they pass over Dimmu because they're big. Well, what are you going to do? One of the bands from that area had to break big, and it was them. And I don't know why it was them, but it was them. I mean, there's other bands that broke big too, but bands like Dark Throne and Emperor, they broke big in different ways. You know what I mean? It's weird. It's a weird hierarchy thing going on there. But
yeah, black. It's a good point, Marty. I will, off the top of my head, it feels like, again, like we've been saying tonight, black metal was getting a lot more visible, a lot more bands coming out, a lot more people checking it out. But there were only going to be so many people that wanted to hear the really raw Transylvanian hunger stuff forever and ever. So the fact that you had bands like Emperor and Dimmu Borgir showing up, taking things in a little bit more of that symphonic kind of direction in different ways. Obviously Emperor adding tons of layers and complexity, Dimmu focusing a lot more on just easier to follow melodies. I think that just made us like, hey, this new black metal thing that everyone's buzzing about, and here it is in a little bit more of a digestible format, compared to the really screechy lo-fi stuff. So it may have just been a case of the right place and the right time for the Dimmu Borgir sound to catch on.
Yep. All right, Devon, what you got?
Stole another pick, thanks.
It's gonna get a little tough here.
Let's go to Poland for this one. So this is Christ Agony with Moonlight Act 3. So compare this to something that's almost like first two Agony Christ mixed with the first two Samael records. Oh, I stole one from Alan. Cool.
You did. I did not think anybody would pull that. Nice one.
My favorite is their second record, but their first three are awesome. After this, I feel like they kind of lost the plot, but oh well. But their first three are awesome, though. I don't know who put this out originally, though. But yeah. Good record.
Yeah, very good record. I would agree, Devon. After this one, there's nothing I've heard that's essential after Act 3. But yeah, 1, 2, and 3. 2 and 3 in particular, really, really good albums.
And they don't have any of the typical like Polish pagan style either. They're more like straightforward.
Plus, they had drum machine shit going on too, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's something I liked about them. They really did kind of have their own sound at the time. They weren't trying to, like you said, they weren't trying to do the pagan thing. The songs were longer and a little more, trancy. They would do these long, repetitive passages. And it was, relatively simple. They weren't trying to make things overly complex, but it worked really well. That repetition really kind of, set a good tone for the songs. They were also, one of the bands on the Polish, pretty early on that, as the Polish scene, got more politically extreme, this band ended up taking a lot of shit because they weren't into that stuff at all. And so all of a sudden you had, all the Rob Darkin type bands, crapping on Christ Agony for, not being, part of, the true blah, 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 all that crap. Which always seemed kind of a shame. Like, dude, they're an awesome band. Who cares if they do or don't vote the same way you do? So it seemed like a shame they got kind of, crapped on for that reason. But
there's the first two.
Yeah, nobody really ever talks about that band much at all.
Those are the two I have on CD. Yeah.
So this is the debut. This is the second. This one's my favorite.
Yeah, I think a lot of people pick two. I listened to the third one more. I haven't played the second one in a long time, but yeah, good stuff.
All right, Alan.
All right. No one's pulled this one yet, so but I'm guessing somebody else has it in their stack. If not, shame on you. You should. Catatonia, Brave Murder Day is a 96 pick.
Yeah.
Yep. Obviously, the band, changes direction here again. Another band that's just not sitting still. There it is. Yep. And this one, of course, famously has Mike from Opeth having to handle the vocals. The story being that the other guy had completely blown out his voice doing the earlier stuff like Jehola Elometh, and I kind of had to reset a little bit, learn to sing differently. And in the meantime, you get a really good performance, from Ackerfeld on this album, and always had a very cool sound. This album now is cited in a lot of circles as one of the founding Death Doom records, which I've never quite thought of it in that context.
Nah.
It's not a crazy idea. It's not like they're claiming it's a glam
metal
album.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do you guys think? Death Doom Forerunner here, or
I don't think so.
I don't like that term for that one. It's more dark metal, more droning,
it kind of is.
More hypnotic. Death Doom is slower, more suffocating. This is more of a good pace. I don't know. No.
Yeah. It feels weird to me too. I think maybe what's happening with that label, and noticing this, as a Death Doom is not a genre I know tons about in depth, but I pick up stuff here, I pick up stuff there. It feels like there are almost two flavors of Death Doom. There's the coffins or autopsy, mental funeral kind of Death Doom, where it is very slow, ugly. The emphasis is on the death part.
Yeah.
Just played very slow. And this is not that at all. But then you do have stuff like that, most recent Hooded Menace album and some things of that ilk where there's more of an emphasis on that kind of, melodic stream going on. It's death metal vocals, but the music is maybe leaning more towards, I'm going to say Candlemass, just for a real easy reference point. And in that sense, I could see this as being more of an influence on those bands or albums that go in that direction. But again, this isn't, a genre I'm really well versed in. Maybe folks in the chat will have something to say on this. How does this fit into the history of Death Doom? Are people just forcing it in there where it doesn't really fit, or is there a thread that connects all that? Regardless, really cool album. I've been replaying a lot of the early Catatonia stuff. I want to work my way into some of the middle era Catatonia once again. I haven't visited that stuff in a long time.
There's some
for
good
years.
shit there.
For years I've been down on it. I got less and less interested in Catatonia with every album, but I want to go back and retry some of those albums, like what's the brown one that looks like it's a picture of a bathroom from 1910?
Last Fair Deal. Last Fair Deal.
Is that Last Fair Deal? Okay. See, I can't even keep the damn
That's the last
straight.
one I care about. I like that record a lot. It's really catchy.
It was the last one I bought, and at the time I just couldn't get into it. I felt like the band had they gradually drifted out of my interest range. But I'm trying to work my way back through some of that stuff. I've really liked all the early stuff. I always have, but it's time to kind of venture into some of those albums that didn't work for me the first time around.
I love the demo in Dance of December Souls. That is kind of like Black Doom. That to me has got the Doom element because it's slower and more patient. That Brave Murder Day is just more droning, mid-pace, dark metal to me. I don't know. It's weird.
I'm coming on the same page you are with it, Marty. But yeah, it's just interesting. Food for thought. Folks in the chat can bandy that one about and see what they think of it. But yeah, the album after this one, Discouraged Ones, I love that album too. It's after Discouraged Ones where I start to feel like not sure, but it is time for me to go back and dig through those a little bit more. It's been a long time since I heard that stuff. It might connect with me better now. I'm going to be interested to try it out.
Well, I would say
go ahead.
I would say the looks of the band like Swallow the Sun instead of Rune Magic, I guess. Like Rune Magic's heavier, where they're more Swallow the Sun's more melodic.
Swallow the Sun's a good example. I always forget about them, Devon. But yeah, it might be that. Yeah, it's meant to be aligned with more of that kind of death doom.
All
right, Marty. I've put the chat into a catatonic state or a catatoniac state. I can't quite make that one work. I'm sorry. I tried.
You did
but
fine.
Go ahead. Show us something else cool from '96.
Well, I'm still digging through Norway here, and this album, I love this album. They're a Norwegian band. They have a different approach to it, and it works so well on this record. And it's in the Streams of Inferno by Mysticum. I love this record. It's basically Norwegian cold churning black metal with a drum machine and slight industrial influences. Obviously, they got a lot more. This is the Full Moon Productions pressing, of course, because I was all over this shit when it came out. Totally love it. Mean Malmberg looking stoned out of his mind, smiling for the camera. You're not supposed to smile. Look at those guys in the back trying to flex what muscles they have, and the guy in the front's got suspenders on with a lot of flair and smiling. Come on. But I interviewed these guys back in the day. It was a interesting, fun interview, and I'm a guy that likes electronic music on occasion, and I had a spell with working with a drum machine in a death metal band because I lived in an area with no drummers. So I had a soft spot in my heart for this stuff, and they don't hide the fact. They lean into the fact they have a drum machine. They make it sound as electronic as possible, and they put just cold void shit over the top of it. I really like how lifeless this record sounds, yet it maintains a bit of atmosphere. And some of the sounds in the background, they're all construction workers. They would go on site and record, field record, like machinery in the background. They would record that and mix it in with the album. So it's got a cool industrial / black metal vibe. It's the true union. After this, was it Planet Satan, their comeback record? They basically leaned into EDM, electronic dance music, on that one. I like it. I think it's cool because it's so different. And seeing it live, it's amazing because they have a perfect LED light show that links up perfectly with the music. It's amazing. But this here is just more true Norwegian black metal with a cold electronic heart. I don't know. It's great. I've always loved this record. Had a soft spot for this band early on.
Devon, what do you think of that one?
It's okay. I'm not really a huge fan of like industrial stuff, but it's good for what it is.
That's fair.
Different. Yeah. It's definitely different in the scene for the time, for sure.
Yeah. I picked it up a year or two ago. I found it really cheap. It was one of those things like, it's $6. Sure, add it to the cart because I already had 2 other things in the cart. Didn't click with me on first listen, but I need to give it more time. I just haven't given it the spins. But yeah, definitely a unique sound for a Norwegian band from that era. So definitely points for that.
Yep. All right, Devon.
I see Peter's in the chat. He read my mind.
Yeah. Another drum machine driven band at that
they
point.
Are? You can't even tell, though. Like, they have a good machine, though.
It might be. They got a drummer at some point. I don't know what the cutoff point, but their early shit was all drum machines.
Let me see. Oh, this was mixed by Dan Swano. Of course it was.
Of course it was. Let me look it up here. I got the...
Yep, there's a drummer, unless they named the drum machine. It says Kila Ma'a. Yeah. Okay. So Swedish death metal, definitely underlooked band from the early scene.
It says bass drum programming tracks 1 through 3, M. Schulman. So, yeah. There's a dude that programmed drums. They may have got a drummer halfway through the session. Anyway, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I was just saying, underrated band. Maybe they don't get attention because this is their debut album cover.
Oops.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, but yeah.
Is that the same band? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure? I always thought that was a different band. You're right. It is. Wow.
What?
I thought that was like another band named Sentinex. I didn't know it was the same band. That's funny.
Yeah.
I'm the one that's a dummy here.
Okay.
I was going to say dummy, but no, I'm the dummy.
So yeah, this isn't very original, but they were late to the party though because their debut being in '93. So, but yeah, again, if you like any like Dismember, any of the big 4 like Dismember, Entombed, Grave, definitely one of the better bands from that scene. I don't think it's enough attention. Yep, there you go, Sentinex.
All right. Ellen.
Let's see. I'll do a Norwegian one here. We've got more than enough to go around. Never became one of the bigger Norwegian bands, but did a couple of really good albums early on. And the first one came out in '96. Another one of these, new bands. And again, sure, they probably had been around for a bit doing demos and stuff. But when I say new, I'm like debut album comes out in '96. Limbonic Arts, Moon in the Scorpio. This one just always seemed to have more. And just a little bit of a different vibe to it than a lot of the other Norwegian stuff. It had a little bit more that, it leans into the nature thing, but a little bit more of, it has kind of a cosmic vibe to it, but not through adding tons of synthesizers and all that stuff. It doesn't sound like, Dimmu Borgir. It's not trying to do that style of symphonics at all. A dark, slightly creepy, but really enchanting kind of sound comes through well. Even the cover art alone, I was like, it was very, very emblematic of the kind of sound and music they're going for. We've seen some pretty bad covers tonight, but I think this one is excellent. And yeah, again, nobody else really had this particular sound at the time. They'd expand on it with their second album. There was a third album that I think maybe was supposed to have been demos from before this or something, but kind of the same vein. After that, however, by their third, actual studio album, they started losing those unique elements. They did kind of the same thing Eternus did. They just went in a more generic direction. With Eternus, it was, more generic death metal. With this band, it felt like it's more generic, blackened death metal or something. And all of a sudden they just now you just sound like everybody else. Back here, you had your own thing and you were great at it. So I never did quite get why they changed direction. Maybe they weren't getting that much attention. Maybe they felt like they needed to do something different to break through. Don't know. But yeah, I've never heard any Limbonic Art stuff that I like nearly as much as those first couple of albums. And
the new one was good. I like the new one. It was good. Yep. Not as electronic, but it's good.
I checked it out. It was okay. I wasn't blown away by it at all. But yeah, I know you liked it. I was glad you did. But yeah, Moon and Scorpio, a underrated, really, really strong Norwegian black metal album from this '96 era for me.
It's cool. The bands in Norway, a lot of bands like Sentinex and other bands that use like drum machines or other sort of shit, they try to hide it. I mean, I was in a band. We tried to hide it a little bit because we had a drum machine. But like you got Red Harvest, you've got Limbonic Art, you've got Mysticum, you got Dodheim's Guard. They didn't hide the electronic shit. They leaned into it. And I think that's something that kind of set them apart from the rest, even though it's appealing to a smaller group of people, fans, but it's cool.
Yeah. And Simon, that album's really, really good too. I feel like that one, maybe they're trying to be a little more technical or something, which isn't a bad thing. They still have that kind of unique vibe to them. It just feels like, maybe that album, they're finding their chops a little bit more. But you're right. It is a really, really good one also.
Yeah, Mortician. They leaned into it on the CDs, but live they'd get a drummer. It's almost like they wanted to save money in the studio, so they just had a drum machine for the studio. All right, I'm up next. Well, I'm still Norway. That's just the way it is. This band, man, people have been mentioning them in the chat, but no one really talks about how great this record is. This record is freaking great. This is Kvist's For Kunsten ma vi evig vika. I'm sure that nailed it. I'm sure I'm nailed it there. This is a Peaceville reissue. I don't know who put this out originally, but this is just really great, fast, atmospheric Norwegian black metal. Absolutely great. 3 members in the band. I thought that Hellhammer was in this band at one point, but you look at the lineup and it's all people that are just in Kvist. And I've heard that they're putting out a new album. Man, that would be something else. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I heard this a year or two ago and it hasn't happened. So, this Kvist rules. Absolutely great. It's one of those one and done bands that really needed a follow up. They could have really I mean, this is a 2000 peaceful reissue, so I mean, this is pretty 25-year-old record at this point. But I don't know. It's great stuff. If you've never heard this project or this band, check it out. Absolutely great. Fast, good.
I never have heard that one. I don't even know that band. So interesting.
Check them out. Really solid stuff. All right, Dev, what you got?
Well, at least Roger wasn't here to hear you butcher the Norwegian.
He would have said perfect. He would have said perfect and then laughed. All right, Roger.
So this keeps getting mentioned in the chat. Ethereal nodes. So.
Oh yeah, someone did mention that earlier.
It's almost like, well, I mean, how many times has this same image been used? The 4 guys in the frame.
Right? Yep.
So yeah, that's basically the way you know it's going to be good if it has the 4 guys in the frame. So that's like a sign of goodness. Oh, even though the CD hasn't.
I like this guy here trying to hide his man boobies. My titties are too big for the winner. He's trying to hide his sharp nipples.
They left one guy off the LP. This only has 4. That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, there's 5 on this one, in this reissue.
That's funny. So, yeah.
Too funny. All right. Good pick. Great album. Really good. This is the atypical Swedish sound. Really fast, a lot of tremolo riffs. Good melodies though. It's a good album. Really good album. It's probably their best.
I would say it's like the Swedish version of Battles in the North.
Yeah. That would be great. Yeah, perfect. All right. What's up, Logan? How you doing, man?
All right. Well, while you're in Norway, might as well stay in Norway. Again, the list of Norwegian bands, that again launched their debut album this year is just nuts. Another one is Contreras, Aspera Hymns Symphonica.
Yep.
This one, pretty sure this was a blind buy for another one, like me and my girlfriend. Just, okay, that looks cool. Let's check it out. And it's a decent record. It's not an amazing one for me. I like it, but it's the kind of album I'll play it once and be like, okay, I'm good now. Put it back on the shelf, pull it back off 2 years later kind of album. It's, obviously, again, talented lineup. It's got a cool wintry vibe to it pretty well. The band would go on and do, very, very different stuff. This is another band from Norway that, quickly progressed into, some very strange territories, some of which I like, some of which are a little bit much for me. But, this one is definitely their most straightforward. If you're just wanting something, again, in that more symphonic leaning black metal style, this one is just fine. It'll fit the bill. The ones after that do different things for sure. We'll cover those on other nights when we get to those years, I suppose. But cool album, just not one that I need to hear all that often. Where do you guys stand on Contreras in '96? How does it measure up to the other Norwegian bands we've been talking about?
I'm not super familiar with them, to be honest. They've been on the list of bands to check out the whole discography. I just haven't got to it yet.
Okay.
That was a slow burn record for me. I mean, I liked Garm's vocals on it, and it's kind of jazzy. The way it's, I don't know, proggy is jazzy. I don't know I think jazzy is the right word here. It's weird, and it took me a minute. I ended up liking it a lot. But yeah, it was one of those records I'm like, wow, okay, this is, all these dudes are in other bands, and this is completely separate from those other bands.
Yeah. Yeah,
and you're right, Marty. Norwegian, yet it's different. It's cool.
Yeah, I think I agree. It's one that it grows on you. It's it's easy to figure out at first. Like, okay, I get what they're doing, but you do have to give that one some spins to really start to be like, okay, yeah, now it's starting to to sink in, and I'm getting the nuances a bit more.
It's a really dry production. It's a really weird dry production. Point. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well.
All right. I'll pass on to you, Marty. I want to boot up one here for in honor of Logan, since he just hopped in the chat a minute ago. But I'll do that next time.
Picking away at the Norwegian stuff still.
Motherfucker.
Yep. Old Man's Child, Born of the Flickering with the OG promo from back in the day. This is again, this could link right in line
Hey,
with
the same picture on the back.
Yeah. The with the Dimmu Borgir, it's kind of the same style, kind of mid-paced. This is my favorite album by this band. As they went, they got Nick Barker in the project. They got a little more technical, a little more advanced, a little faster. This here is just a really good atmospheric black metal record. And this Cosmic, who put this out? Cosmic Key Creations vinyl press is sick. It's thick. It's got the silver foil on the cover and the non-bat cover, which is cool. That because that one with the bat's a really stupid cover.
I have the same press, and they didn't label the set of labels though. You have to guess.
Yeah. Yeah, you look in the dead wax if I remember.
I hate
right,
it when they do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's annoying. Why do they? Anyway, my camera's screwed up. I don't know. I've always liked this record. Had to get the reissue when it came out. I've got promos of all the early stuff up through a certain point. I just kind of stopped caring. I think Dimmu in a lot of ways is better than this, but I do really like this record a lot. They also did wasn't there an Old Man's Child Dimmu Borgir split?
That sounds right, but I'd have to look and confirm.
I don't remember. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember.
Yeah. No, that is a good album, Marty, and it's another one of those that flies a little under the radar. The second album is what, Ill-Natured Spiritual Rebellion or something?
Yeah, it's like a forest picture with a symbol in the center of it.
Yeah, it's another one like the Semi album we talked about earlier, where the lead track, Millennium King, really good. Love it. The rest of the album, I couldn't even name a song from. Just great lead track, and then the album there's 30, 40 more minutes of music, I suppose. Yep. That's what they tell me. It's never
and there's a
in.
new the dude from he joined Dimmu for many years, and now he left, and now he's new Old Man's Child album's coming out soon.
Oh, okay, that's the third Wade. Okay, thanks. Wade's saying that's the third Old Man's Child.
Is it? Well,
I don't know. Maybe I'm.
Oh, the one I held up is the first. I know that.
That's
for sure.
okay. Yeah.
The one you're talking about is the third, I think.
Yeah. My mistakes. Thanks.
Pagan Prosperity is the second. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right. The Pagan Prosperity is the one that has is the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, with Millennium King as the lead track. Yeah, Ill-Natured.
It's a good album. It's good.
I just can't remember it ever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not one I listen to much, for sure. All right, Devon, I'm going to go to the bathroom, and Alan, you got the helm while I'm gone. I'll be right back.
I got to drive that Tenka.
Did somebody say Norway?
It is a theme tonight.
Godheim's good. Monumental Possession. So this is basically like their Black and Thrash record, which their first one is kind of like slightly strange as black metal. This is Black Thrash, and after this, they went completely off the rails and super crazy. And then look at the back, same thing again. 4 more guys, frames. So yeah, this is a good record. Also, my favorite by them, which probably I'm sure no one agrees with, because it seems to be like one of their least loved for some reason. But oh well, awesome record.
No, Simon agrees with you, but and Rheinpest likes that one too. Yeah, I think most people associate Dots on Guard with all the really strange stuff that they would do later that you mentioned,
like 666 International.
Yeah, I tried getting into that album, and it was I was not smart enough to figure out what the hell they were doing on 666. It's one I might give another try sometime, but I haven't heard that early stuff. I should check that out.
Yes, it's a good one.
Sounds like I kind of forget. Whoops, wrong button. I kind of forget that they had that early phase where they weren't doing the crazy stuff just yet.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. What have I?
And I think Fenris played bass on the first one.
Oh, really? Okay, I did not know that. Cool. All right. Let's see. I said I would pull one for Logan. I hope Logan's into this album. It seems like a Logan album. Very different. We have now. Did someone say North Carolina? Corrosion of Conformity was very much kind of into their second phase of their career by this point. Wise Blood is the album. Again, another really weird cover with psychedelic pig's head, maybe. I don't boar's head, pig's head. I don't know what they're going for here. It's kind of messed up. I know a lot of people only like the early corrosion of conformity, the more hardcore era. That's fine. I've heard some of that stuff from time to time. It never really, sunk in with me.
Love it.
I, was introduced to the band with Blind when they, kind of their version of a crossover album, which I think is still pretty cool to this day. It's got a lot of songs on it that hold up. After that, though, they got all warm and fuzzy and southern, and kind of got more into that, kind of down stoner type vibe. And I think they do that style well too. I know it's not to everybody's liking, but those albums, I don't know all of them. I didn't keep up with them that close. But it's the kind of thing that, when this would show up like, for $4 or $5, at a used bookstore, that's the time I'll pick up one of those, later corrosion of conformity albums. And it's usually got enough good stuff on it, that I'll hold on to them. So don't mind breaking these out every once in a while when I'm in the mood for them. There's not a ton of bands I listen to in this style. So, but for me, corrosion does it pretty well. I do, though, fully get if someone's like, I just can't get into that era of the band. That's fair, especially if you started out with them early on and had to live through that transition. I imagine that was a tough one for a lot of the fans to kind of transition through when the band changed styles so much. All right, Marty, what you got next?
All right. Well, I'm just trying to sort out who in the hell's on this album, but Gorgoroth's Antichrist.
God damn it.
You can chime in on it too if you want, man. Yeah, this is one of those bands out of the Norwegian stuff. I have all their early shit up to a certain point, and they just never resonated like the other stuff did. I think it's great. It's really good. I'm just never in the mood for it. I'm looking at the lineup on this. Members that are listed. Members. Complete current lineup. No, this. Oh my God, what am I doing?
It says Hat and Pest did vocals on this.
Yep, Hat and Pest did vocals on it. Frost from Satyricon is labeled as the drummer, and there's just a bunch of other people on here. Infernus, of course, he's the main character. Another guy, DA, additional vocals. I don't know who that is. He did some engineering on the album. Pitton produced it from Greek Holland Studios, which was the place all the bands are going. This is really good. It's short. Infernus just was never that prolific. He just didn't really turn out the stuff. He didn't really capitalize on the moment, I guess. I don't know. There's some good shit. They started getting really weird when, what's his name showed up? Gall. But I don't know. The band evolved. But this is just churning evil Norwegian black metal. It's good. I like it. I find myself not listening to it very often. Devin, what do you have to throw in on that?
Yeah, I like the first two. The third one's good, and after that, I kind of don't care. I mean, the eponymous song "Gorgoroth" is definitely, I think, the best song they wrote. That sounds awesome. But
yeah,
the comeback album, I think, was it with Pest, the later one.
Yeah, with the skull on the cover.
This is the rebirth of Gorgoroth.
Yep.
Yeah. Gorgoroth was a band somehow I just never really got around to checking out their stuff. Even when I moved, again in the late '90s, and it was back in territory where you could find all the new releases. Nobody ever had Gorgoroth, talked about Gorgoroth that much. I know they definitely have a pretty dedicated fan base, and some folks are really into them. I think I eventually at some point had one Gorgoroth album for all of 10 minutes, and it went in one ear, out the other, and I traded it to somebody else, and I never thought of them again. So just one of those bands that fell through the cracks for me.
Yep. All right, Devin, what you got?
Alrighty, so getting out of Norway for once. Let's go to Germany. So this is Disaster with a touch of medieval darkness.
Good album.
So this guy's a black and thrash band. I forgot this came out this early. I thought it was a little bit later, but yeah. Again, same picture, 4 guys again. That's
It's really cool. That band was kind of rocking. They threw like some rocking type stuff in there. It was like beer hall type black metal stuff. It's cool. It's fun.
You really sound like a Tankard record.
Yeah, it's not that, but I don't know. There's just something about those early albums by them. It's just fun. I don't know. They're a good band.
Yeah, makes sense. But yeah, they changed vocalists, I think, in the early 2000s. But all this stuff's good though. Is this my favorite? No, it's probably Unholy Blasphemies is my favorite, but this is good too, though. But yeah, check it out. I think this is their debut album also. There you go.
I think you're correct. Yep. All right, Alan.
All right, I'll get over into the U.S. for when we did our favorite albums from each year through the 1990s. This was my pick for favorite album in 1996. And so it needs to be mentioned. Different style. Doom metal. Solitude Aeternus released Downfall was album number 4 for them. It's always been one I like a lot by the band. It's not their most popular. Opinions tend to be kind of mixed on this album. And it's funny. The thing most people complain about is the thing I like about it. This album is a little bit more varied than what they had done before. All their albums up to this point are good. Some of them are excellent, but they all were sticking to, basically like kind of one thing. Whereas on this one, you get songs doing very, very different things. They're getting some weird little psychedelic influences. There's one song is an excellent cover of a Christian death track. Other songs, just very stereotypical sad doom. So it feels like, they were, again, trying some different styles, but still working within a doom metal framework. And I really appreciated that. I thought it made the album really stand out. The tracks are very distinct from each other. And it's always been one that I go back and listen to a lot more than just about anything else in their catalog. Some of the albums it's not my favorite from their catalog. That would have to go to the debut, but this would be a strong second place, I'm pretty sure. Very, very underrated album. And again, I think if you don't get into the diversity of the tracks, I can see why you're feeling like, oh, it's not. You're going to find some songs you like, but there's going to be some songs that you probably don't like. But I think that actually gives the album a lot more character rather than being just another bunch of 7-minute slow songs that sound like Sabbath for an entire album. Lots of doom albums do that if it's what you're looking for. This album didn't try to do that, and I thought it worked out really well. So, yep, Solitude Aeternus, Downfall. This was my favorite album from anything that came out in 96.
All right. I've got one more, maybe two, but one more Norwegian band, not really talked about a lot. Forgotten Woods, The Curse of Mankind. This band broke up eventually and went on to be Joyless. This band was very Norwegian sounding, slow, very melancholic, very weird sounding band. A bit folky in their riff work, although it wasn't straight up obvious. You know what I mean? There was just a playful nature in their riffs. Very thin. It sounds like they recorded one guitar on this. I don't know. It's just they're a weird band, but that it works really well. The songs are atmospheric and strange. Atmospheric and strange. I mean, that's kind of the way I would leave it here. But yeah, always like this project for sure. I have not heard any Joyless, so I don't know what that stuff's all about. Just haven't come across any of them, but it's a good record. Good. Check out the first few Forgotten Woods records for sure. They're all really solid. And I'll be moving off of Norway for a hot minute here. But Devon, what you got?
Guys, you haven't mentioned this one yet.
Oh,
it's on my stack. Such a great record.
Crimson. The Spectral Souls is my favorite, but this one's awesome too. So they won 40-minute long song, which is kind of not really true, but oh well. So yeah, good record. I would say Purgatory, Afterglow is where they started becoming more proggy, but this is, I think, like the best of their progressive era. So yep.
It's like the perfect evolution at that point. It's all kind of come into play right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Solid record. There's no throwaway stuff on that record. It's really a well done album.
Yeah, exactly. It's awesome. So good stuff.
It's well written. It's just not something I can sit down and listen to very often. The format for it's you almost have to listen to it start to finish, and I have trouble getting across the finish line with that one. But yeah, there were several bands doing that kind of full album thing then, and it's not just that one. I have trouble with a lot of them from that era. Like I think '97 was Fate's Warning's Pleasant Shade of Gray. Again, well written, well composed, good band. Damn, that's a long album to sit through.
Hey, Jurgen, what's up, man? Good to see you.
We were just talking
Saw
about
your
you a
video
little while earlier.
Yeah, saw it to mention you earlier, and watched your video today with the death zines. Wow, what a tome of exhaustive information. It's amazing. Anyway, Alan.
All right, so let's jump over to one of the other disappointments from '96 for me. We've been praising tons of albums, but like I said at the onset, a lot of sort of higher profile things that came out this year let me down. A band I liked a lot up to this point was Sentenced. Both the previous two albums, Muck and North from Here, still favorites to this day.
Oh, yeah.
And in '96, they released Down. It's a very dark album cover, and I don't have it, so there we go, a little brighter. So yeah, as soon as this came out, I was looking for it. But again, it was probably early '97 before I could get my hands on a copy of it. And I instantly had the buyer's remorse on this one.
Because you're not a goth chick.
Yes, I am. I was definitely not a goth chick. I'm not dating a goth chick.
That's who that album is for, goth chicks.
And they had changed their sound, but up to this point, they had always reinvented themselves, and it always worked. But this time, they not only had reinvented themselves, they had lineup changes. And I always wondered if that was parts of the issues with that. Simon, they weren't not down with this album. What makes a Muck great, not just it's variety, but it still has a lot of energy and a lot of anger to it.
Yeah.
Without being like, it's not brutal death metal, but it still has a lot of that same emotional attitude.
Yep.
This album is just sad sack. Oh, woe is me bullshit.
I'll kill myself unless you love me, baby.
Yeah, it's just like life is hard and bleak, and I'm going to play very simple chords to go with my very simple concept of sad. There's no punch, there's no fire to it, with one exception. There is one great track on this album that should have been on a Muck, the song Bleed. That song still has some real intensity to it. Love that track. And the rest of this album, I could flush down the toilet and never see again, and I'd be fine. And I never could get into anything Sentence did after this point. And this was the lane they decided to stay in. That was the real, kick in the ass moving forward.
They were that way longer than they were any other way, for sure.
Yeah, next album comes out, it was Down Part 2. Album after that, Down Part 3. I learned pretty quickly, like, okay, I do not need to care about this band anymore. I just don't. I would check in from time to time out of curiosity, play a few tracks, be like, Down Part 7, fucking fantastic. Do something else. So much cool stuff on those early albums. And to settle into this style of all styles was really disappointing. A band that was special became really mundane to me. So, like I said, a lot of stuff in '96. Some bands I had been riding high on. This was my getting off point, and Sentenced was one of them. Sad to say, but one good track, and that was it.
I got to say, I hated that record when I first heard it, but it grew on me because the melody lines, and it is. I mean, once you get over the fact that I am not a goth chick, which is fine, and but I like this too. I don't know. I end up do I love it? I don't love it, but I think it's decent for what it was. The era that it came out, it makes sense. You got Typo Negative, it's kind of like the Finnish interpretation of Typo put to more of a Finnish rock type of metal thing. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe there'll be a day I go back to Sentenced and I'm in the right mood for it, and I'll listen to it from a different angle of like, yeah, okay, I just want to hear like a simple melodic gothy kind of thing, and maybe it'll click then. But it's always left a bad taste in my mouth that a band that was that innovative early on settled into such a mundane pattern. Always hated to see that, but hey, it worked out well for them. Kudos to them. They found a lane where they were successful. So you can't argue with success sometimes.
And Dizzy, I like goth chick music too. By the way, I dig goth music.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of goth.
I like some gothic
I've actually
metal
been in
stuff.
a bit of a goth kick over the past few months. But
I've been sniffing around trying to buy Bauhaus records online, and they're not giving those away.
No, they're not.
not.
But yeah, no, it's been more like Bauhaus and Christian Death and stuff that I've been listening to, not Sentenced.
Yeah, absolutely. Oops, sorry. All right. Then we're going to get out of the whole Norway thing here, and we're going to go to America. And this band rips so hard. And they put out 2 releases in 1996, one of which being their Ghost to Azazel demo, which is this bugger right here. OG, sent from Gene himself back in the day. And we're talking about Angel Corpse here, and they put out their debut album, Hammer of Gods. This is a reissue, of course, on Osmos Productions. Nice with the gold foil. Man, this album, I love all except for the last Angel Corpse records, but this one is the most old school and cult sounding to me. I love how simplistic it is, but it's got that piss and vinegar, that black venom just spewing from it. Envenomed, Lord of the Funeral Pyre, Black Solstice. Oh my God, what a song. Holy shit.
No, Marty. No, it's not Lord of the Funeral Pyre. It's Lord of the Funeral Pyre.
Yep. Perversion and Throne.
So awesome.
Sodomy Curse. Oh my God. I saw them 3 times during this era. Every time, just absolutely. You could just feel the steel rolling off the stage when these guys played. It was just awesome. Super awesome. Pete Helmkamp's vocals are just scathing. Absolutely scathing. You got John Longstreth on drums on this. A lot of people don't realize he was in this band for early on. I saw him play live with this band. He was fucking great. Absolutely great. Right. And Gene, after this album, they got a lot more Morbid Angel-y, which is fine. I mean, the albums after this are freaking sick as well, but this has always been my favorite. This maybe has a little bit of Bathory in it, a little bit of the old school. You got Pete coming from Motor from Chaos on here, so there's a little bit of that old school spirit mixed in with these songs. I just absolutely love this shit. It's funny, when Gene sent me the demo, it's like, this demo sounds like crap. It's really distorted and shitty sounding, but you can hear through the crappy production, the songs are super. What was on this? Perversion and Throne, Scapegoat, Soul Flare, and Lord of the Funeral Pyre were on the demo. So love it. Great. Angel Corpse, absolute American classic. For sure.
I did not bother taking it off the shelf because I knew you'd have it in your stack.
Yeah. I just want to show off the demo.
This is the one for me.
Which one is it?
Exterminate.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
definitely
also,
awesome.
all 3 of those albums are great. Yeah.
Great.
What happened with Lucifer and Lightning? Can somebody explain what happened there?
I need to listen to it again, but I just remember it being a big letdown.
It is one of those everyone just universally is like, and I've heard it once and I was just like, ooh, it really is as bad as people say. But I don't know. Was there a lineup change? Did they?
I don't think
find
so.
Jesus? What happened that made that album fall apart?
Let me look here. Angel Corpse. Lucifer and Lightning. What's the lineup? No, it's John Longstreth. Even John Longstreth's back on drums. So it's Pete Helmkamp, Gene Peblicki, and John Longstreth. So they got the original lineup back. It just, I don't know, the album just didn't. In fact, even on there's 5 reviews on the Metal Archives, and it's 56%.
Oh yeah,
people didn't like it.
Metal Archives, you got to take with about 3 grains of salt for reviews, but yeah, even there, it's hard to find any love for it.
Yeah. All right, Devon, you're back.
So this might be a weird one because this is a compilation. The release itself was 93, but the compilation is 96, so kind of cheating. But
oh, okay. Well,
oh, nice.
Yep.
The grotesque in the Bush
Cheater!
compilation. This said 96 for Blade Metal Archives. So you have Tampa and wasn't Necroload on the guitars on this?
He was.
Mm-hmm.
Shamati from Arcanum was in that band playing drums at some point. I don't know if he's on any of that stuff.
Maybe.
Basically, didn't Grotesque turn out to be Liars in Wait at some point? They went from that to Liars in Wait. I don't know.
I think
it was the other way around, but maybe
that
not.
could be. Yeah,
Maybe.
the whole time thing is fuck. I don't know.
Little
That's
bit
great.
Yeah, a little bit more blackened than any of those bands, like more blackened than At the Gates too, like less melodic, but also like I don't know, just a different vibe. So it's very unique sounding. Would have been cool to hear full length, but this compilation is awesome too. So check it out. Grotesque in the Embrace of Evil.
Well, apparently, according to 9 Wild 9, Shamati is on this one. If I'm reading that right. Great release Shamati of this one too. Yeah. He's a great drummer. Grotesque became At the Gates, Liars in Wait, and Arcanum. Right on.
Okay, so they split into different directions. Yep. Okay, thanks, Jack.
God, that Arcanum. What a great black man. I always love that shit. So good. All right, Ellen.
All right. Folks may have noticed we have not talked about a lot of traditional heavy metal tonight. There's been a lot of black metal, death metal, doom metal, not a lot of traditional stuff. This was not a good era for bands in the traditional vein. You know, Iron Maiden and Judas Priest of the world were kind of at their nadir. I don't think either of them released anything in 96. Different traditional metal band came back. They had been off the scene for a few years and put out their first album, I think since 92. This was Manowars, Louder Than Hell. This was a weird one. Just to kind of emphasize how starved some people were for this style of metal. When this one, came out, granted, Manowar had some name value, but they weren't going to be on Atlantic or anything anymore. But there was big hype around this album. I think Maniacs did a spread. It may have been someone else. They had like this big color picture of the band. They were all like riding, brand new, Harleys all shined up with all the chrome and everything. And the headline was something like, True Metal finally returns. Manowar. It may have been something Sue wrote. I've got her name associated with that picture in my head, but it's been a long time and I didn't have time to dig through zines to look for the issue. So yeah, the fact that, you had a band that was just going to make a good old plain heavy metal album, was something that an audience wanted in 96. There were people interested in it. I don't think this album really delivered the goods. It has its fans, and it's not bad. The problem with it is it just kind of retreads the same water Manowar had done years and years earlier. I mean, if you've heard Kings of Metal, this is Kings of Metal, but not as good. If you've heard Fighting the World, it's Fighting the World, but not as good. It's just more of the stuff they had done since being on Atlantic in the 80s and into the early 90s, but it doesn't add anything. It doesn't really add any classics that you feel like you have to hear. Again, it's one of those things. If you're doing a Manowar mixtape, what do you put on here from Louder Than Hell? The Gods Made Heavy Metal is just another sing-along Manowar song. It's not that it's bad, but they've done it before and they've done it better before. Outlaw, maybe? I don't know. My Spirit Lives On, maybe. Just every song on here feels like a retread to me. Berg saying Outlaw. Yeah, Outlaw, I guess. Looking at the track list, that's the one that stands out a little bit. I just feel like, it feels like all of Manowar's hits revisited. So, not an awful album. It's not like they, they weren't going industrial or Marilyn Manson or Nine Inch Nails or anything. It's still Manowar. If you're a diehard, I love everything Manowar ever did kind of fan, you'll like the album. Sure. I just remember getting it. I liked everything up to this point, but I felt like this one seemed just really unnecessary. And that's why I don't own it. That's why I'm just, pulling it up here on the phone to show the cover. It's like, sure, They could have just called it Just Another Manowar album, and that's very, very descriptive for me. So it's another one from '96 where you had a big band that they didn't shit the bed or anything, but they just made it the exact same way they'd always made it. I didn't need just another Manowar album in '96.
All right.
Marty, what have you got? This probably not going to be a Manowar album.
No, definitely not. And this is such a treasure for 1996.
Yeah, there it is.
This to me is like the culmination of the whole Swedish Melodeath thing.
Yeah, which was a huge thing. I mean, we've seen a lot of that tonight.
It was huge, and a lot of bands were like, there were so many bands doing this style that they were devouring each other, and it was just getting to the point where it was starting to burn out, like Brutal Death did, like all this other shit did back in around the same time. But the Jester Race by In Flames is one of those albums. Yeah, their drummer is not great on this record, but the melodies are so strong and rich and mature, and the songwriting is so good. It's just, they leaned into the melody on this, and it's just Moonshield, Jester's Dance, Artifacts of the Black Rain, Graveland, the Jester Race. Oh my God. This is just banger after banger after banger. And it's even kind of a weird, now you listen to this thing now, it's kind of a muddied, weird kind of production, but it's so good. It does have a bit of warmth to it, which is nice. I don't know. I love this record. This is, for me, the first three releases, this is the best, and this is the best they ever were. It just is. The two albums after it, Colony and Clayman, I like those two. There's some good stuff on those. They got to start. You could tell they're starting to get a bit more commercial. This here was still them just really in the moment, writing great music. Jesper Stromblad, he's a beast. He's a beast of a riff writer. And check out the new Halo Effect if you want to hear this sound a little bit more commercial. The new Halo Effect record is really fun. It's a really good record. Check out Mike Seatown's review on our channel to get the skinny on it if you haven't heard it yet. It's definitely good. Great record.
That album needs a repress badly.
Really? Yeah. And the funny thing is, this repress, you could tell this is just you can't tell through here, but they basically scanned the CD, blew it up, because the shitty image is very pixelated, and then they put the text and the logo is all crisp, but the rest of it looks like crap. This is a 2014 reissue. So.
Didn't the drummer switch to guitars from now on? I think he did.
Yeah, I don't know. There's like a lot of stuff going on at that point, but Cosmic Sands title. Yeah, totally. Cosmic Sands Cult Eternal. Comic Sans. He's a master melody for sure, and it's really great that he's back doing it with Halo Effect. I got the first album in the mail this week. It's really good. I like the new album better. The new album's on the way. It's taken the album's taken forever to get here, but I've listened to it online. It's great. Absolutely great. Devon.
Man, that opening riff of Graveland.
So, God, it's so good. So good.
You've taken long enough.
It was next on my pile.
Marty had plenty of chances for it.
It's all good. No, it's all good.
Only 3 guys on the back, though. They don't have the typical 4. So
we had a really great classic dissection record in '95, and we got another one in '96.
Exactly.
Yep.
Next, same artist on the cover, same color scheme, everything. It's perfect.
And it wasn't the second Dawn record, '97.
Yeah.
So 3 in a row.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome record, definitely the best. And I saw them play this album in its entirety, which was awesome.
Oh, cool.
Though that was like 1:30 in the morning after the final day of Maryland Death Fest, so I was exhausted, but I wasn't going to miss this.
You didn't really care who was on stage. It could have been a band of dancing naked girls. You'd be like, whatever, I'm tired.
I know, exactly. But that was awesome, though. So, yeah.
That is a sadly overlooked record. I mean, people talk about it very fondly, but it's awesome. Man, if it wasn't for Storm of the Lightsbane or the Somber Lane, that record right there could be the king. It could be the king.
And they never made their version of Rain Chaos either.
Thank God. Yeah, thank God. Yep. All right. Ellen.
Let's see. Well, just looking for a different one, but I'll go with this one next. Some folks mentioned this one early on tonight. They just got kind of buried in my stack. But Cradle Filth did their, I guess it's technically their second full length. I think Vampire's technically an EP kind of thing. It's a long EP, but whatever. Dusk and Her Embrace. My favorite Cradle of Filth album. I get it if people like the debut better. The debut has some good songs on it, but I feel like they were still nailing down their new sound compared to their demo days. In this one, they've got the concept fully formed. And a lot of good, memorable songs on here, too. The songwriting is there. Say what you will about Donnie Filth. Lyrically, his stuff, was really cool. And he could put together songs, that would actually stand out and stick with you over time. Lots of them that I like on here. Funeral in Carpathia is very cool. Even Heaven Torn Asunder. The opener, Humana Inspired to Nightmare. Lots of good ones. The title track is fine. So, after this, I still like the next album, the Countess Bathory one, whose title I always forget. But then, Cradle just kind of started cranking stuff out over and over, and I lost interest after one more album. But this one I thought, is still, this one I think still holds up pretty well over time. This era of Cradle, not something I'll play often, but don't mind having it on the shelf for when I'm in the mood for it. Did see them live. They did, I guess it may have been their first US show. Was that the Metal Fest in 99 in Milwaukee? And not a great show. I'm just going to say, I think they had just had lineup changes in the band. They clearly weren't quite comfortable with the set list or the material. The audience was nuts for them. You had tons of people that had traveled to Milwaukee that year just to see Cradle. I thought it was a pretty mediocre performance myself. So that didn't really help my opinion of the band moving forward.
Was that the same year I was there because I didn't go see them.
You were there that year.
I avoided them. I didn't see them on that show.
Okay, yeah. I don't know if I watched their entire set. I watched at least half of it. It was a band I was interested to check out, but it wasn't, they weren't the main reason I had gone. It's just like, yeah, cool, yeah, if they're here, I'll go see them. Most people, of course, probably the best thing you could say about that was, they had some half naked ladies dancing around on stage, and the band trying to figure out what they were supposed to be doing for a lot of the time, it seemed. It was also, again, they were getting pretty big. They sold, Lord only knows how many copies of that whole, Jesus is a t-shirt they sold at that festival. It seemed like every other person was wearing that t-shirt around where was it that year? Was that at the Eagle Ballroom or was it the other venue?
Yeah, it was Eagles Ballroom, I believe.
Okay. Sometimes Metal Fest was at one, sometimes it was at the other, but every time you turned around, there was another person wearing that exact same t-shirt all weekend long.
Nick Barker played drums on that record, right?
I believe Barker's on that one. I haven't looked at the lineup on it for a while.
Jesus is a t-shirt.
Let's double check that. That's a fair question. Let's see. Cruelty and the Beast is the one I forgot the title of. I don't know why I can never remember that album's title. Dusk and Her Embrace had, wait for it, drums was, Nick Barker. All right, Marty.
Well, people are clamoring for it in the chat, so Winterland, welcome to my nightmare. This is I'm sorry, welcome to my last chapter. Welcome to my nightmare is an Alice Cooper album. Welcome to my last chapter by Winterland. This is a Black Lodge Sound Pollution repress that came out a year or two ago. Finally, they reissued it. It needed it. I had a CD bootleg, Russian bootleg of this at one point, but this is again, when I talk about the Swedish scene kind of eating itself, you've got three bands that are playing dissection level melodic black / death melodic death metal exclusively. That's Winterland, Sacramentum, and Dissection. All three of the bands are doing it very, very, very well, and this is a great record. Very unassuming, uninteresting album cover. I always thought.
Yeah, would agree.
Yeah, I'm really bummed. Well, I'm not bummed. I gave it to a friend, but I used to have the OG press of this on CD, and I gave it to Tanner Anderson when he was here hanging out. But afterwards, I found out how much it cost, and I went, "Dang it! Why'd I do that? I could have sold it and made a bunch of money." But yeah, this is melodic black / melodic death. When I call Dissection a melodic death metal band that are just leaning into the black a little bit, people think I'm dumb, but I don't know. They never struck me as a black metal band, but I don't know. This is right up there. These guys are great. They were great. Absolutely great band.
Would you put more grinning in that Dissection catalog?
Yeah,
So
I
you
would.
could make it 4.
It's a 4. Yeah, they're like I said. The scene was devouring itself. They were all drinking from the same trough. You know. All right,
Not everyone can be pure black metal the way Turnus were, Dean. There, Marty.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Oops.
Wow. I guess that joke didn't go over well with him.
hit that button. Some members of Winterland were also in the black with Nodvite.
I forgot about the black.
Yeah.
Haven't heard that name in a while.
All right. Devon.
So this record is definitely not melodic, but fucking glare. Marduk, heaven shall burn when we are gathered.
You need to get one of those teen girl ring lights like this here. Shine that up on you. Set that up for you there.
Yeah, I know. So they're still not in their like war themed era yet, but I think this is definitely the most evil sounding record. But probably my favorite's either this or the debut, honestly. But yeah, Summon the Darkness, Beyond the Grace of God, Darkness I Shall Be, The Black Torment of Satan.
Should I not pull that?
There's still like a couple moments with like some slow stuff. It's not just like full on blitzkrieg like Panzer Division yet, so it's still like a little bit more melodic. But yeah,
Or I'll show the
Good
CD. It's
stuff.
a little brighter.
yeah, nice.
This album rules, and I gotta say, the thing I like the most about this record is how distinct B War's bass lines or bass is. It really cuts through the mix on this. It makes it just so much more urgent sounding. I don't know. He's a great bass player. He plays that Rickenbacker, and it cuts. Hell, check it out. The back cover is the same cover as that Christ Agony LP, Devon.
Yep.
Oh shit.
It's crazy. Must be the same clip art. All right. Yeah, this is a great. This is the one just before.
All right, look at the cover on this CD. This is horrible. Hang on. Pull this out. You can barely even see it, but
What the hell is
Yeah.
that?
some like dancing figures. It's the same record. I don't know why they chose that.
Why
for the
would they do
artwork.
that? That's stupid.
I have no idea. But yeah.
Yeah. This is a great record. Isn't this one before Panzer Division Marduk?
No, because Nightwing was in between the two.
Nightwing. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
That was 97.
Hey, cheers, 9 White 9. We'll share the same brain. That's fine. It's all good.
People always kind of forget about Nightwing. You never hear people either talk about the earlier ones or Panzer, but Nightwing was pretty good.
I'm sorry, Jurgen. Jurgen took my recommendation, went and bought some Winder stuff, and he hated it. Sorry. I owe you money. I think I owe you money now. I owe you euros. Okay. Helen.
All right. We talked to My Dying Bride earlier. Another Peaceful 3 band did have an album in 96. And once again, miles away from where they had been. Anathema released Eternity. I haven't played this one in a very long time. I like it. It's a very pretty sounding album. They were definitely going for a very different, more ethereal, beautiful kind of sound. It really left all their gothic death doom roots way in the past by the time this one came out. People vary on which eras of Anathema they like and don't like. I do like this album, but it's another one that I can play it once and I'm good for a while. it's not an album I can sit and play over and over again. But it is a really nicely done album. You could say it kind of, foreshadows some of the stuff they would do much later on. But Anathema is a band that, they always kind of kept changing. They never stayed in one mode for too long. So while they did some other very pretty albums later on, they weren't really in this particular style the same way this one was. So I know I've heard, some fans of this say they really wish they could have gotten maybe one more album in the, Eternity style out of the band, because they really didn't do anything exactly like this again. And I'm either the last person here or I've dropped signal. Don't know which it is. I will keep talking for a minute or two until we figure that out. Well, let's. All right, Devon, can you hear me?
Sorry,
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. My kid's here and distracted me, and I bumped the button or something.
Oh, okay, yeah. I wasn't sure if I had lost connection or if everybody else had been suddenly removed. So
Go ahead.
Things got weird for a minute. Okay, little technical glitch.
Sorry.
Anyway, yeah, a cool and relatively unique album in the Anathema catalog. I get it if it's just not for some folks. Again, this is a year for bands doing very different types of things, some of which are going to connect with folks and some of which aren't. But yeah, Anathema were well on their way into new territory by this phase of their career. And I will say in this case, I think it was for the better. Of those original Peaceful 3, Anathema I always felt was maybe the least good at the early sound. They always felt like Paradise Lost and My Dying Bride had that sound nailed better than Anathema. But I think Anathema really found their niche once they moved beyond those parameters. So good on Anathema for branching out.
Yep.
So Find It X is my favorite.
A lot of folks like that one. Yeah, I haven't played that one in forever. It's not one of my favorites traditionally, but I should revisit it. It's been a very long time.
Find It Exit? Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
It's very Beatles-esque. There's a lot of Beatles on that record.
But of the 90s one, Alternative 4 is my favorite of the earlier ones.
Yeah, I remember liking Alternative 4, another one I haven't heard forever. They've just got a lot of good stuff in their catalog. What's the one before this? The Silent Enigma is quite good. Judgment's a beautiful album, but so sad.
Very sad.
I didn't like A Natural Disaster. We're here when they get you like We're Here Because We're Here Again. They're in a little different style by then, but I do like those albums from that era also. So yeah, an interesting catalog, which you're gonna. Probably no one's going to like everything just because it covers so many different styles.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jürgen's in the chat, and because of that, let's go to Germany, shall we? And we've got Dictus T. Nicare from Bethlehem.
Ah,
this is the last album with Landferman. Hey, Roger, what's up? You could have heard some of my Norwegian earlier, and you'd have been so impressed. You've been like, nailed it. Yeah, this album is, suicidal, very, very suicidal, dark metal. This is dark metal. Landferman's vocals are just absolutely off the charts, crazy. How he could sustain that, I don't think he could sustain that, to be honest with you. In a live setting on tour, his voice would be blown out after 3 shows for sure. But yeah, I've always loved this band. The album after this, the Suicide album with Marco Kellren from Dionysus or Deinonychus, is great. But this here is a great lead up to that. This and the album before it, Dark Metal, are both fine. You need to check them out for sure. But yeah, definitely check out Bethlehem. Dictus T. Nicare, I don't know. However you say that. Great, dark, twisted, evil record. All right, Devon, what you got?
Let's take a break for black metal. So this is Accost with the Enemy Within. So these guys were, they were a Netherlands death metal band, which if you know the 2000s thrash band Legion of the Damned, this is like pre-Legion of the Damned, so they just changed the name, but changed styles a little bit too. And I think it's the same drummer and same vocalist. Yeah, those two are still in Legion, but yeah. So to compare this to something, maybe like that grotesque I mentioned, but I would say thrashier and like more thinly produced, I guess. But yeah, I'm not sure if they have anything besides this. I only know this record, but yeah, good stuff. So awesome. Occult, the enemy within. That cover sucks though too. But oh well.
Oh God, it's such a shitty cover.
Like the old man child's artwork, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except way worse.
I know, right?
All right, Alan.
All right. Let's see. Sticking to some bands doing more unique things in '96. I got very overlooked. Psychotic Waltz, Bleeding. This is their third album. I sometimes get theirs out of order because they got spaced out for me a lot. Cool band. Very strong kind of underground cult following. They have they're progressive metal, but not really crazy strange. They're based in kind of a Queensryche, Fates Warning, Fates being the band they're often compared to. Very distinct vocalist, really, really outstanding guitar work throughout all their albums, very consistent. Bleeding's a really good album. Kind of short, but all the songs work extremely well. The catalog has been reissued recently, so their stuff is available on disc for the first time in a while. However, you will pay for them. And this is as good a time as any to rant about the price of not just new vinyl, but when the hell did new CDs start costing $23.99 and $24.99 a piece? Because this is pissing me off lately. All the Psychotic Waltz reissues, I don't think I've seen them for cheaper than like $21.99. The Edge of Sanity reissues you can't get them for less than $20.
Century Media is the worst, man.
Yeah, there's a couple of other ones lately that folks have been reissuing, and all of a sudden it's $20+ for a CD, and it's just like, fuck that. I poked around a little bit on Discogs. I can get the original Psychotic Waltz pressings in some cases for $15 and under. Why the fuck am I going to pay you $24.99 to get a reissued version of it with a few bonus tracks or something? Really annoying.
Wade says it's because they're all double discs.
That's nice, but I'm not wanting to pay double the price again to get a disc full of some live tracks or some rough demos or whatever. Unless they're like truly lost albums of material. I don't know. I would love to have more of the Psychotic Waltz albums on hard copy. I only have one or two of them. I am not paying $24-$25 a CD for it. At that point, nah. The record company can go fuck themselves and just continue to bemoan the fact that they can't sell physical copy. Well, price it for something a little more sane, and you would. Until then, I'll just buy a digital copy off Bandcamp, and I'll be content with that. But yeah, Bleeding's a very cool album. And if folks have never checked them out, if you like that kind of Fates Warning or Queensryche sound, but this band has their own unique take on it for sure. Definitely check them out. They never got their due. They were the right band, but in the wrong place in the wrong time. Coming out of the California scene in the 1990s, trying to play that style, they sadly never really had a chance. I'm always been kind of amazed they made it through 4 albums before just getting crushed and calling it a day. They did a reunion album several years ago, and it's actually extremely good. I don't know if there's plans to do anything else or not, but the reunion album sounds fantastic. Great cover art by Travis Smith. They even got Scott Burns. I guess that's kind of the one footnote most people may know them for. Psychotic Waltz is one of the non-death metal projects that Scott Burns did help produce, and he got a really, really good sound on their stuff for them. So their debut album did not have Burns' production, and the production was a little rough on that one. After that, yeah, they stepped it up, and for a band in a really different style that he wasn't used to working with, Scott did an excellent job, and the band, a lot of the guys in the band, really, really liked the sound that he got for them. So, yep, underrated gem of unusual proggish trad metal from '96, Psychotic Waltz.
All right. Well, we talked about Bethlehem, which the dude from this project ended up being in Bethlehem for a minute, and Deinonychus, The Weeping of 1,000 Years. This is on Coffinus Records, and I got to say, of Marco Kellren's stuff, this is one of my least favorites. This and Arc of Thought, they're both okay. This is The Silence of December is his debut album, and it's just kind of chainsaw, guitar tone, black metal with some romantic flavor to it. This here, he kind of leans into the I'm a sexy vampire thing, and and you got the lead-off track called The Romantic Sounds of Death. It's like the last song, The Gothic Statue. I mean, I've always liked his voice, and I still don't mind this record. Is there any sexy pictures? Oh yeah. I don't know if she's on. I don't remember her being on the album, but apparently I haven't listened to this in a long time. But oh yeah, here you go. Oh, I've got you. We need a team lift on aisle 1. I don't know. I thought this was a cool one to pull. This is a band I've followed. I have all their stuff except for the new one because no one in the U.S. has gotten it yet that I've seen. But as this project went, after his stint in Bethlehem, Deinonychus afterwards started to sound like Bethlehem. They got way more suicidal and weird, and his voice is just completely strained and miserable and awesome. But yeah, this is good. It's just a little too sexy vampire shit for me, but 96.
Yeah. I always kind of liked that project, but I always wanted to like them more.
I ended up liking some of it a lot. I really like the debut. It's just really
Silence of December. Yeah, there's the EP long after the looking it up now. Sorry, after the rain falls and empty sky remains. Yep. I had that and thought it was decent. It always felt like they had potential, but never quite full. It was never a band like I fully embraced, but I did. They were cool, but always were missing just a little something.
Yeah, check out the albums that came out around the Suicide era from Bethlehem, and it sounds a lot like, if you like the Bethlehem album, you'll like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's a
Roger, they are
me.
great. They're really good. All right. Devon.
Isn't the singer from Dark and Nocturne Slaughter called in Bethlehem now?
Yep.
Oh,
Crush,
okay.
she's great, a great fit in it too. Yeah.
They have a goofy name, but that band rules.
They're really good. Yeah, agreed.
All right, we haven't gotten to Brazil yet.
True.
So this is Mr. Fire with, oh God, the world is so good that who made it doesn't live here. I always roll my eyes at the album name, so definitely a different take on black and death metal. They went for a more like slow and creepy approach, opposed to like Angel Corpse, who wanted to be super fast. So if you're a fan of stuff like Beheaded or like Culte Ghouls, like they were definitely listening to a lot of this stuff. So yeah, I mean, super creepy and crazy. Every once in a while, there's some kind of odd, out of place, like clean vocals that don't really work that well. But
yeah,
oh well. Wicca's my favorite, but this is a good record too. Though. But yeah, I love their first three though. But there you go, Mr. Fire with the longest album title ever.
Well, I got one in here that could compete with that. I was thinking Alan's going to show it, but he hasn't shown it yet. So I'll just have to wait and be patient.
I'll leave it for you, Marty. I know what you're talking about. And yes, your title will be slightly longer than Devon's.
All right, Alan. I've got plenty of other shit, Alan. If you want to pull it, you could go ahead.
I don't have a physical copy of it, so I mean I could pull it up on the phone, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. This one, I haven't played this in forever, but I do like this band. Need to go back through their catalog. It's been a minute. But 96 saw the second release from Mexico's The Chasm from the Lost Years. This one I like. They're still finding their footing a bit at this point. Yeah, I think it's like the next album where they really, really kind of hit their start to hit their stride and release a series of like albums that are really strong. But I do like this one overall. It's slow. It's got the right elements are there. They just got to kind of fine tune it a bit. It's got the dark, moody sounds are all coming together. Always loved the early logo.
Yeah,
with the kind of
cool.
circular design. It looks like the No Remorse Records logo a bit. Never liked the color scheme of this cover. It's an old rant of mine, but I'm not a big fan of orange and gray as your main two primary colors for artwork. It always seems like you've taken like a black and white picture and just tried to do like a partial coloring to it, and it never looks right to me. But yeah.
So you're saying when you were a kid, the orange and gray crayons were never used in the Crayola box?
I can use orange or in gray, but not on the same picture. Like
okay.
I wasn't going to color a cat orange with gray stripes. It just didn't look right. Orange cat with black stripes, black cat with or gray cat with white stripes, but not orange cat with gray stripes. I'm getting confused now. Anyway, if folks aren't familiar with the early part of the Chasms catalog, those albums can be kind of hard to find, even though there's been at least some reissues. I don't know if there's been a recent one. The debut, I have a soft spot for the debut album, but I will freely admit it's not the tightest album ever made. This one's a step forward. The album after this, really, again, like I said, they start to click, and from there they have a string of very solid albums. But this one's worth checking out. I was always happy I was able to. Those first two were hard to find for a long time, so I had to get this one from a guy in Japan years and years ago. Tried my damnedest to buy the. He had a copy of the first CD too, an original press, and I offered a good amount of money for it, and unfortunately didn't get it. But I was happy I at least got From the Lost Years, because it's a good one, even if it's not their best.
It's just dark and murky and very unique, and it was always a little out of tune sounding. I don't know. I liked, man, that image on the back. They tried to like digitize the Chasm logo and 3D it. It just isn't great. It just isn't great.
Oh, that's sad to hear, Neander. Okay, Neander's saying that he actually has been saying he will not reissue them. And yeah,
That's
the OG
weird.
prices. Yeah, I know the OG prices are not good. They reissued the first album, and that may have been 10 years ago at this point. And I think even that has gotten kind of stupid expensive, and it's just a simple digipack reissue. I don't think there's anything that special about it.
All right. Well, what am I going with next? Let's just do these three. We're going to jump into America for a minute. And America, I would say they were late to the party, which isn't true, because American black metal was happening early, and it just didn't get the same PR campaign going that the Europeans and the Scandinavians did. But there's a guy, Andrew Harris. He put out 3 albums in 1996. 2 of which were Judas Iscariot records. So you got the Colder Slept Below, which is the debut Judas Iscariot record. It's a sloppy
sloppy dark throne worship.
It's sloppy dark throne worship with a little bit of Burzum thrown in. He followed it up with Thy Dying Light, which is a slight improvement. The drums would get eventually better as he went, but he would eventually concede and get Dwayne Timlin in the band to play drums for him. And also his other band, who I saw once play, Sarcophagus, put out an album for We Who Were Consumed by the Darkness. This band started out as kind of a death metal-ish band, a higher tuned death metal band, kind of techie at times, but they fell in love with the black metal thing, and they all got out the stuff and put it on and went out in the woods and did the thing. And so yeah, you've got this album, though, is kind of a transitional record. The album that came out after this sounds like a faster, more a better drummer Judas Iscariot record. But this one here still has some heaviness, some down-tuned heaviness and weight to it. But it's a transitional record. So you got, by Andrew Harris, you've got 3 albums, 2 Judas Iscariot albums and Sarcophagus. All of them are pretty damn good. Obviously, the drumming on the Juice Iscariot stuff leaves much to the imagination and to be desired, but it's black metal. It's supposed to be raw, and that's what he was going for, and he nailed it. He was really good at it. So yeah, what are you saying here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I met
Yeah,
Andrew
90
back in the day. Super nice dude. He was always a nice guy. Yeah.
Yeah. 96 did, is one of those years where you did start to see some American black metal trying to creep forward a little bit. And you're right, Marty. A lot of bands just didn't quite get over for a while, and for a long time lived in the shadow of what was happening in Europe. Like Devon said, a lot of those bands around that time quickly got a reputation as being nothing but sloppy Dark Throne wannabes. And it took a few years for the bands to develop, get a little better sounding, start to find their own voice and their own footing, where U.S. black metal could do its own thing and start to finally elevate itself a bit.
Yep.
I don't mind the Judas Iscariot stuff. It's not something I play very often. I'm not. It can be a little too rough around the edges for me, but sometimes I dig it. I've got a few of them. But yeah, it is one of the other things I just had like here in the show notes to mention is that U.S. black metal starts becoming a little bit more visible around this time. Even though, like you said, bands like Absu and Vaughn had been around for years before this. It's not the first U.S. black metal. It's just the first time it's starting to feel like there was a little bit of a scene developing around.
Well, Michigan had Masochist, which was a big deal. It broke into Winds of the Black Mountain and Summon and Lucifer's Hammer. I mean, all these dudes are in the stomping ground here, and some of that shit was killer. And it was early.
I like some of that Winds of the Black Mountain.
Yeah.
Now talk about some band photos that aren't so sexy.
Yeah.
Oh, the band photos.
Oh, the band photos on the 7-inch are so good.
That's that will get us demonetized. We won't go there.
No, we won't go there. All right.
I think we're
7.
back to Devon.
All right, let's go to Sweden for a not very Swedish sounding record. This is Inverted with the Shadowland. So these guys are a death metal band, which compared to something I would say like early Hypocrisy, maybe, or like early Vomitory, but they did this another record, I think, in 99 or 2000, and they broke up. They haven't done anything since, unfortunately. But yeah, definitely one of the better late to the party Swedish death bands. So yeah, check it out. So this is put out through a Belgium label. I think it's kind of hard to find, so this might be a bootleg, but oh well. So there you go. Inverted the Shadowland. The second one's my favorite, but both albums are awesome.
All right. Alan.
All right. We haven't talked too much power metal tonight. Power metal stuff was going on. Marty showed Halloween earlier. There's a few others we'll probably be getting to here. A couple of the bands that were doing well at the time, it's just an off year for them. Like for Blind Guardian, this is the year they put out like a collection. The Lost Tales, I think it's called. And there's Stradivarius, and this is the year they put out the Damn Dolphin cover album.
That album is good though.
My
kid has it now. It's good.
Stradivarius is a lot like Opeth for me in a way. Got into them early, tried really hard across several albums to really embrace the band. It's like it feels like this is a band that should be for me. And after about 4 albums or so, I just had to admit to myself, I'm just not digging this band. They felt just always a little too lightweight for me, even by power metal band standards. This is like Halloween, but watered down and a little too softish. So, and then they put a dolphin on the cover, and it's like
Two dolphins.
Deal breaker. Dolphins are not metal. If you're going to do that kind of stuff, good luck. Hey, again, they did great. They had a long running career. They didn't need me to keep buying their albums to put food on their table. But there were other power metal bands poking around as well. One of them in Italy. I don't think I've ever showed this album on Metallurgy before, which is getting harder and harder to say. But
right.
Yeah, there's only so many things to talk about. But Italian band called Labyrinth, and this was their debut album called No Limits. This is in a slipcase, so The cover's similar, but I think it's a different color scheme. Yeah. This is not power metal in the same sense of, typically with Italy, you start thinking like Rhapsody bands that were really leaning into the whole fantasy, dragons, castles, sword type stuff. Labyrinth maybe did a little of that here and there, but they, for lack of a better descriptor, in terms of subject matter, it always felt a lot more kind of modern and romantic leaning. Has, still all the same hallmarks. Good guitar work, kind of a very pretty Fabio-esque kind of singer with a good voice. But yeah, just overall, it felt like, it had a warmer sound to it. It's not, trying to be this, epic fantasy tale all the times. It's still kind of, telling stories and all that, but a little less cliched in terms of like, their medieval, knights and, again, riding their dragons kind of sorcery stuff. Really liked the band's first few albums. I thought they had a cool sound, played very well. This album's good. The follow-up is even better. But then the third album was okay. It was a little bit of a letdown. It was actually on Metal Blade, if I remember right. So, I mean, they almost got there with, getting some Metal Blade distribution, but the cover art on the third one's bad. The songs just don't quite come together. And then the fourth one had some of the worst artwork you'll ever see on an album. But we'll get there a different night. But No Limits is a cool album. It's, it shows, a band finding their footing, but they already have the power metal, vibe locked in, no problem. It's just that they would get even better on the next album. So, yeah, Marty, I don't know what you and Parker would think of Labyrinth. They might be a little warm and fuzzy sounding.
It bums me out because I remember getting Labyrinth CDs back in the day when in promo form with the pink one with the Labyrinth on the cover.
Yep.
And I gave it away or threw it away or I don't know because I power metal. I couldn't have that in my house. Well, now I'm like, damn it. Yeah.
I think it was the third album. Jeff Wagner had gotten a promo for back in the day, and he didn't really dig it, and he ended up sending it to me for some. I sent him something in it, like a CD trade for. In exchange. But yeah, a cool band that did a few good albums there, but they kind of lost their way for a while. I heard one or two later albums and it sounded like maybe they kind of got back on course eventually. I haven't kept track.
Someone said, Johannes here says that Labyrinth has released a new album yesterday.
Huh. Oh, did they? Okay. I had no idea. So that's really cool.
And that one band I shared with you this week? Doesn't it have the Labyrinth guy singing on it? It's pretty good.
No. Oh yeah, the Odyssey.
The Odyssey one, yeah.
That was pretty good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's see. So 2025, it just came out today in the Vanishing Echoes of Goodbye on Frontiers Records. Oh, interesting. Thanks for pointing that out. I will go check that out when I get a chance.
All right. I'm up next. Okay, well, I'm sticking with American black metal here for a hot minute. And sure. We've got December Wolves with Till 10 Years. I really like this band's demo. Wolf Tread came out in 94, and it took them 2 years to get the full length together. And that's a East Coast band trying to sound very Scandinavian, I guess you could say. But I always liked this record. You got the cover, this painted cover. You open up the insert. There's this text and art, and then you look at the back. Oh, here's the lady in the band.
Yep.
She did some sessions vocals. Let's put her on the back cover. I mean, what the hell? Whatever. I don't know why that's so funny to me, but it's funny. Anyway, this is solid. It's really good. After this, they went the album Completely Dehumanized, which is far more blasting and a little grindy, just really spiteful, distortion enhanced vocals. They got way more aggressive, but on here they're definitely leaning in towards the Scandinavian, European black metal sound. But It's a solid record. Again, I see why the rest of the world always looked at America like, "What are you guys doing? You're trying to rip us off," type of thing. But
Yeah, a little bit.
which there was a bit of that, but it was still good in its own way. It was good. What was what bad, Jason? I dig it. Anyway, yeah.
Let's see. We're coming up on midnight, so do y'all want to do 1 or 2 more passes?
I can, but I'm going to rip through a bunch when I do them.
That's fine. Yeah, we're just we're closing on that 3-hour mark. That's usually about where we look to wrap it up. Devon, is that good by you, Devon?
Yeah, sounds good.
Devon's sick anyway, so Devon's got the flu, so he's being a soldier for us tonight.
Yeah, we appreciate you hanging in there because we know you don't feel good.
No worries. So these are both by the same band. So we got 2 from Asphyx. God Cries and Embrace the Death. So I believe this was actually recorded before the rack, but didn't come out until 96.
That was that was their first album with Theo Lumens. And God Cries is the return of Theo Lumens, if I remember right.
Didn't one of the guy from Pentacle join Asphyx for a second?
Yeah, after Van Drunen left the second time. Okay,
so he was on the self-titled?
No, that was later. The self-titled was somebody else. He was on hold on. I have to look at the SPHYX. I'm sure people in the chat already.
This all kind of tangled up.
The rack last one, self-titled God Cries. He wasn't on the Wings of Inferno, was he?
He was on
no. Van Drunen's not on Wings or of Inferno.
No, he came back for Death the Brutal Way.
The dude, Vanis, the dude from Pentacle is on the Wings of Inferno. So that was before Van Drunen returned.
Yeah, that was before the Death the Brutal Way.
Yep. So he did one album. He was a great fit. He fit perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, great. It's great. The Asphyx were good at that point. The self-titled is really doomy and weird for the catalog, but God, I haven't listened to that album since it came out 1,000 years ago. Just didn't resonate with me like the others did.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I just got a copy of Death the Brutal Way. Came in the mail last night. I haven't even opened it up yet.
It's a fun record.
I had to order something for my little boy, and I needed something to, it's like, if you add, 1403 to your cart, you have free shipping. And so I was like, okay, I'll add 1 CD, and that's the one I picked.
Alan spent $14 to save 5.
I hate paying shipping. There's always something I can buy.
That'll show them.
Stick it to the post office.
Yep. All
Poor
right.
post office has had stuck to them pretty bad in recent years.
Right.
All right, so we have 2 left. Which one do I want to do here? Okay. Let's do this one first. 96 sees the first release from Morgion.
Great record.
Among Majestic Ruin. Yeah, it's a good record. It's not my favorite by them, but it's a band doing, again, something kind of unique. Now, this one I can see calling Death Doom-ish. There may be still more firmly in the death camp, but they're getting some of the atmospheres and stuff added a little bit to this one. After this one, they definitely start focusing more on the atmospheric stuff, and that's when I think they really, really shine, is like on Solinari in particular. This one I don't take out and play all that often, but it is still a cool album. I always liked that the band had a pretty unique sound. Only got to do the 3 albums, which always felt like a little bit of a bummer. I felt like they had at least one more good album in them. But, just never got a ton of attention, sadly. Did get to see them. They played at that same Milwaukee Metal Fest that Cradle of Filth was at. Cradle, of course, got, the big stage with like an hour-long set or something. Morgion was given 20 minutes on the Relapse stage. And for a band whose songs are typically, 7, 8, 9 minutes, it's like you get to play 2 songs.
Yeah. Came all the way from California for this. Yeah.
Yep. And they were one of the best bands I saw the whole weekend. They made perfect use of that 20 minutes. Great atmosphere, great stage presence, sounded amazing. Loved them. I want to say, I'm pretty sure they were in the same block of time on that stage as Nile. I don't know if it might have played like soon after Nile played that afternoon, because I think I was just I think I just stayed there. I want to say I stayed there, like watched Nile, hung around while they changed out, and then caught Morgian right after. But I could be very wrong about that. It's been 26 years ago. But yeah, if folks have never checked it out, it's I don't think it's their best outing, but it's still a cool album.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna
feel free to rip through a few, Marty.
All right.
How many do you have left?
A bunch. A bunch. I'll just do this. All right. Well, I've been on America, so I'm going to end on America here with Crimson Relic, Purgatory's Reign. This is the band that formed out of Divine Eve, and it is complete and utter Celtic frost worship, but in a death metal vibe. This record rules. It's so groovy. It is so heavy. It's so warm and well produced. A lot of great movement. So, and they even Crimson Reign. They even kind of stole the Crimson Divine Eve logo style. It even looks a little bit like Morgian. In fact, Rhett Davis from Morgian plays drums on this.
Oh,
if I remember. Let me before I already opened my mouth.
Yeah. I know the Morgian drummer is in Stygian Crown now, which is a cool epic doom band.
Yeah. Well, I'd have to look it up, but I do believe Rhett plays drums on this, or he was in Divine Eve, one of the two. It's confusing, but this is really great death metal in the Celtic frost vein. Really well produced. Crimson Relic, Purgatory's Reign. Going to go to Sweden. We got a twofer here, and the connecting element between these two bands is David Black Moon Parland. You got the Spawned by Evil mini CD from Necrophobic and Dark Funerals, Secrets of the Black Arts. There's no secret. The debut Necrophobic's my favorite Necrophobic. It's really just a dark, evil death metal record. And as Parlin got a little more infatuated with black metal, the band started to kind of follow into that realm. This was the transitionary release. The album after this, Dark Side, feels a lot like a Dark Funeral record with just different singer.
Except a lot better.
A lot better, too. I mean, if you want to play the drinking game and do a shot every time you hear the word Satan on here, you're going to be completely alcoholic poisoning by track 3. We've got 2 from King Diamond that came out in 1996. We've got The Graveyard and Into the Unknown. King Diamond, The Graveyard, and Merciful Fate, Into the Unknown.
Folks mentioned The Graveyard in the chat earlier, but I forgot about Into the Unknown. Yep. I always forget about that album.
They were running 2 albums tandem for a while, and it shows. I'm not going to lie. It shows. I really ended up really growing to like The Graveyard. It's really well done. It's a creepy, screwed up story. Yep. And his voice sounds good. The songs are good. And this album isn't peak Merciful Fate, but man, there's some really good riffs on here. Really good riffs on there for sure.
That's the one that's the Ghost of Change, right?
Yep. Oh wait, the Ghost of Change.
And the Uninvited Guest.
Yep. Track 3. Yep. The Uninvited.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with either of those, but yeah, just not his finest hours, but not his worst.
Well, we'll do these 2 real quick too. I might be stepping on Devon's toes a little bit on here. Anyway, Flesh Crawls, Blood Soul. German band. They started off sounding very Swedish. This album is just, they're still doing the HM2 death metal thing here, but it's just brutal, really well done German death metal. Got the gross ass cover on the back. I mean, the butcher's got camel. I didn't realize you butchered camels. I didn't realize that was a thing. And then of course this
Marty, you can only sell the camel. It's a kind of a delicacy. It was only available 1 day a week, Wednesday.
I guess you could kill and eat anything, can't you? Really, if you have the means and the willpower to do so. And for this round, this album is such a banger.
I thought that was 95 though.
Is it?
Which one is it, Marty?
De Profundis, Vader.
It might be.
Let's see. Jack mentioned it in the chat earlier. I think he had it as 96.
Vader, De Profundis, 95. You're right. I'm taking that off the list. Good call, Devon. Good call.
So I know Back to the Blind was 97.
Okay. Good catch.
All right.
Vader had Future of the Past. It was 96.
Okay.
don't know. Oh, it's just a covers album. Okay, I was
Good
going to say
catch.
that one.
Good
Sounded
catch.
odd.
Devin.
How many more do you want me to show?
If you got a handful you want to burn through, last pass. So whichever ones you feel like must get on camera here.
All right, I'll do this. Let's be quick. So I mentioned these guys earlier. Vomitory, Raped in Their Own Blood, the
That's
debut.
a great album. That album
Oh, yeah.
rules.
I forgot that was 96.
The first Falkenbach record. Some shit in German I can't pronounce, but in the something. So yeah. 2 CD, but didn't mention None So Vile. Blasphemy.
I am not the world's biggest. I've tried with Cryptopsy. I've got all that stuff. I just don't care. I don't know what it is about them. I don't know.
That was another one that came out in 96. I gave it a try. I'm just like, this is not for me.
Yeah.
But it has definitely developed a following over the years on that
sure.
album.
Somehow didn't mention this one. Opus 4 Abogor.
Oh, I've got it here. Cool. Took it off my list.
That's one of the Abogor ones I do not have.
From the Twilight Kingdom's my favorite, but this one's essential too.
Yeah, from the Twilight
Just
Kingdom.
an old behemoth. We got Grom was 96.
They
Very
started to
nice.
lose me at that album. I don't like that one for some reason.
I need to spend more time with it. I like it but I've never played it a ton. But yeah, that's a good pull, Devin.
That Storming Near the Baltic album is my favorite by them.
That one's cool too. Yep.
Ancient Wisdom for Snow Covered in Northland.
That's a cool album.
Oh, that was on my list. I didn't pull it. Good one. Drum Machine Metal. Another drum machine
Underrated, like proto-atmospheric black metal, I guess.
from Sweden.
Thou Art Lord Apollyon.
Greek.
Kind of thrashy Greek stuff. And then the last one from Finland. We got some Impel of Nazarene, Latex Cult.
The Motorhead album. Yep.
Exactly, like Motorhead meets Discharge black metal record.
Yeah. Yep.
So there you go.
There you go. All right. Alan.
Lots of good ones there. All right, I've just got one last one to show. And this is I have not played in a long time. I always had some trouble getting into it back in the day, but I like the band quite a bit. It's just their catalog was a little hit or miss for me. It's Roots Contreras album, which is their 4th. And it always feels like it's out of place in their discography a little bit. But like I said, their albums change quite a bit from one to the other. A lot of people over the years have cited this as their favorite, as like kind of, the peak of Roots creativity. Yeah, and I get it. I mean, I listen to them like, okay, I can see, they're definitely doing something, interesting here. It's just never been one that I embraced fully. I like the album before it a lot, Temple in the Underworld, but that one's got a little bit more of, a straightforward, underground sound. I like the albums after this one a lot, The Book and Black Seal. But again, those go in a different direction. Kagras, just something about it that never could quite latch onto it. But definitely worth pointing out another band that was, lurking there in the underground. And an album that a lot of people do dig. So that'll be the last one I mention. Marty, which ones do you got to get on camera here?
Rip through these quick.
All right, I'll go right ahead.
First one, someone mentioned it earlier in the night. I don't know if you're still here, but Sacrilegium's Witcher album. This is the reissue. Doesn't have the original cover, which really drives me crazy. This cover sucks. I hate the cover. I hate the colors. Anyway, this is a Polish pagan black metal, minus the sketch, I think. I hope. And this is a really great record. It's just very Polish, very black metal, melodic, kind of a folky vibe to some of the riffs. It's a great record, really good. Hungarian band Sear Bliss with their debut album Phantoms came out in 1996. Hungarian black metal with horns, trombone, and all sorts of other stuff in it. It's thankfully not saxophone. It's really as goofy as that sounds. It sounds very organic. It works. It's a very cool vibe.
I love the new record from last year.
I have not heard it. I need to jump on. And we've got Starfire Burning Upon the Ice-Veiled Throne of Ultima Thule by Belsagoth.
There it is.
Basically, if you take English black metal and fuse it with epic power metal, that you've got Belsagoth. It's very Highlander swords and it's like Martin Walker wrote the lyrics for this. It's very wordy, a lot of narration, a lot of It's a fun. The early stuff by this band is really fun.
Fun's a good word for it. It's not particularly great, but it is really fun.
Yep.
Yeah, it's worth it just for the song titles alone. It takes the font. I got that in a tape trade originally, and the font the poor guy had to use on the J card to fit those song titles in was insanely small.
The track listing is insane. It's just it's ridiculous. It was their thing. And we've got what's this called? Land of the Unholy Souls by Satanic Slaughter. This came out on Necropolis. Water? Satanic Slaughter.
Slaughter, okay.
Satanic Water, yeah.
I misheard that.
Yep. This is basically a band that's got members of, well, it's got Patrick Jensen from Witchery and Seance. And on this album, you've got the singer of Seance on it. And they claim to be like an early Swedish black metal band, but I think there's a lot of lies there. But anyways, basically members of Witchery and Seance in this project. This is the second album by them. It's really catchy, black metal. If you listen to Witchery and Seance, there's a lot of catchiness to those riffs. Patrick Jensen's a good riff writer. Still in Sweden, Pandemonium with
nice
Chaos and Confusion. This isn't the album after this is where it's kind of Dan's solo project thing, but this is the whole band still. You got the weird sax breaking in and doing weird honky squonky John Zorn shit amidst a bevy of HM2 Swedish death metal. Excellent for fans of Edge of Sanity, but a little weirder. This is definitely up your alley. And you've got Sorg Pa Svarte Vingerflo from Dawn, the EP. This thing rules. This is the first Dawn I heard. This is absolutely fantastic. 4 amazing songs. This is a band that sadly just faded away, and they've been threatening a new album, and it's never going to happen. Who are we kidding? And lastly, we will finish up with a self-titled Campfire mini CD. This came out in 96. 3 songs on Season of Mist. Early stuff. Again, this is another band that had had a bad run of legal problems with the label, so they were inactive for a lot of years. The early shit's really good. Their comeback stuff, I kind of lost track of. This is still good. It's all good stuff.
Wasn't Black Thrash Attack 96 too?
It was. I just didn't want to dig through my box of promos to grab it. So yeah, Aura Noir's Black Thrash Attack was 96 as well. There is so much shit. Like I said, we could have done...
This could have been 96 Norwegian just on Moonfog.
Yeah, we could
very easily. Yeah, you're right, Devon. Yep.
But that's it. We made it through. I think we showed a pretty wide swath of tunes here.
Yep, we tried to cover a lot of ground. I'm sure there's things that have slipped through the cracks. But like someone just mentioned, Skyclad had an album from '96 that I thought of that when I was pulling stuff, but I never circled back to it.
Which one? Was it Burnt Offering?
No, it's
Pokemon.
No, it's
hold on.
in between those two. Shit.
Skyclad.
No, it's not Jonah's Ark.
It is.
Which one is it?
They had 2 of them. Irrational Anthems and Oi Avant-Garde a Chance.
That's the one I was thinking of, yeah. But
the other one was Irrational Anthems.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have physical copies of those, and
I do.
I haven't heard them in forever, so I didn't pull them.
Yeah.
Well, shit. Yeah, good call, Joshua. Skyclad. Just another one, like Devon and Marty said, dude, 96, tons of stuff came out, and in a lot of different metal directions, as we saw. Really about the only thing missing maybe is, just there's no traditional thrash that we talked about tonight, I don't think. Unless I'm forgetting.
I didn't even look up thrash. I saw Monstrosity. I didn't grab it.
Yeah, you're really in the wastelands of thrash.
Yeah.
All the German bands are a shambles around this time. The American
Sepultura did Roots in 96.
Sepultura is not even a thrash band by 96.
Yeah,
none of the US bands are doing anything. Pretty Overkill was a year away from an album. Testaments is a year away from an album that a lot of people hate. So not a good time for thrash. But
Sacred Reich in someone was saying Sacred Reich. Sacred Reich was at heel. Man, after the American Way, they just went right down the toilet. What a
If Sacred Reich is your go-to answer for what was the big thrash album of a year, something has gone horribly wrong in your thrash genre. I'm sorry, but that should never be the answer to who was the thrash release of the year.
Well, Joshua did mention Overkill's The Killing Kind was 96. Yep.
Okay. Well, I was thinking that was 97, but no, he's right. That was a 96 one. Yep. And that album's better than I remember it being. That one deserves a little more credit than I give it. So yeah, another good catch, Joshua. Thanks.
Testament Demonic was 96, but
was it? I would have sworn that was 97.
That was such a departure. Them trying to just be, we're a death metal band now, everybody. I don't know. People like it. It doesn't suck. It's just not Testament, I don't know.
It is funny that you're right, Marty. That album has developed a following over the years, but when you kind of dig into it a little bit, like the people leaving comments. Wait, I've got Demonic as 97.
Yep. People here saying 97.
Okay. Either way, when you dig into the comments, the people that dislike Demonic are the older Testament fans, the ones that grew up with the legacy and such. The people that will leave comments like, "No, man, this is like really underrated stuff." They're the ones that are really into like Pantera, Biohazard, Prong. They're the '90s metal set. That kind of latch on to Demonic, and that's okay, but it's definitely a correlation I've noticed over time. People, if they say they like Demonic, ask them what their 5 favorite albums are, and they're going to name 2 Pantera albums, and they just are. They really are. That's their sound.
Burn my eyes, bro. Jump the fuck up, bro.
Yeah. They very much. Yeah, that's the stuff they are into. Which okay, it's not a criticism. It's just I really did notice that pattern because I thought it was weird because that album was really reviled by fans for a long time. And then I started seeing more and more people comment liking it. But when I kind of check like what other things does this person like, it's always that set of, vulgar display of powers, their favorite album of all time kind of stuff. So just throwing that out there as an observation, not a criticism.
Oh no, Ryan Pest, we're sorry. It's okay. It's okay to like Demonic. It's not a bad record. It
has its moments. I don't think it's as awful as some people claim it is. It has its moments, but yeah, as a Testament album for older Testament fans, it's a lot to swallow. Well, we've covered as much ground as we can. Devon,
we covered a lot of
ground.
We
know you feel like crap. We do appreciate you hanging in there and hanging out with us. It's been a while. Good to see you.
Yep.
What you got coming out on your channel? Anything you want to plug before we jump ship here?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure, but I'll post the video in the Discord whenever I do it.
Right. So, hey, speaking of the Discord, everybody, link in the description. Discord's a lot of fun. I'm utterly shocked that it's been as well received and this much fun. So definitely go check out the Discord server. It's like chatting with people in the chat all night. It's very cool. Very cool. Devon's in there a bunch. We'll hope to get the professor in there at some point. He'll be driving through. He won't be staying, that's for sure. But Alan, what you got coming up on Let's Talk Metal?
I think I'm doing, if I remember right, for Tuesday, I think I've done sort of a mailbag questions and comments answers video because I haven't done anything like that in forever. And one of them is explaining why I'm not in the Discord. So we'll go into that and other burning questions that people have asked about.
Spilling over onto your channel. They're asking you on your channel why you're not on the Discord.
It comes up every now and then in a comment, folks. Right, hey, great video. Why aren't you over in the Discord for Metallurgy yet? I'm just like, there's a reason, and that and more secrets shall be revealed come Tuesday morning at 6:45.
All right. Well, show notes for Heavy Metallurgy. Next Friday is Darcy and Jurgen. We're going to be discussing and ranking the entire Metal Church catalog. So hang out if you want to hear what we think about the multiple eras of great U.S. band. I hope to have a review up on Monday. I'm going to try my bestest to get it up on Monday. I got a lot of stuff coming up. And more. Oh, Wednesday, the album club is Slaughter's Strapato. So that'll be fun. Fun classic thrash / death metal from Canada. Classic band.
Yep. Folks will enjoy that one for sure.
Next Friday, Wade, we're going to rank Metal Church next Friday with Darcy and Jurgen.
How many albums do they have?
I don't
13.
even want to know. 13? Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad. I know I'm pretty familiar with a good chunk of their collection, so
Yeah,
it'll be good.
there half of it I knew well, and the other half I had never heard before. So, but
Yeah.
I'm caught up on my Metal Church homework.
It's a good band. What a great band.
They've got their moments. Yep,
They
there's some of their albums. Well, we'll talk about them next week. They're some are definitely better than others, but
Christopher, this is a great idea. I know Alan isn't going to want to do it. We'll figure that out.
It should be done. I'm useless for a Dark Throne deep dive, but you can certainly get some other folks to do that some week for sure.
Someone mentioned Arcanum as well. That would be a fun deep dive. That's a great idea as well. Anyway, cheers everybody. It was a great week again, as always. It was good to see everybody in the chat. Cheers to the Dreadful Minutes for watching a stream within a stream. Y'all rule, and we will see you next week. Go check out Maze of Torment on YouTube. Link in the description to go see Devon do his thing for sure. So, cheers everyone.
Devon's videos are always cool.
See you next week.
See you guys.
Bye everybody.